Good evening, West Orange. This is Joe Fagan. I am the Public Information Officer for the Township of West Orange. Welcome to the Township Council meeting for March 7th, 2023. At this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our esteemed Council President Tammy Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. Good evening, everyone, and happy Women's History Month. I would like to begin with our clerk reading our opening statement.
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on November 23rd, 2022, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on December 1st, 2022. Councilwoman Castellino.
Present.
Councilwoman Geber Michael.
Present.
Councilman Rutherford.
Here.
Councilwoman Scarpa.
Present.
Council President Williams.
Present.
Mayor McCartney.
Thank you. Everyone, it is Women's History Month today, and we would like to start off by welcoming Michaela Rivera from the West Orange High School. She is a graduating senior, and she is the president of the Black Student Union, and just an amazing young woman, spoken word, poetry, she does it all. And I'd like to welcome her to open our meeting this evening. Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Michaela. So I wrote this poem kind of in honor of Black History Month and Women's History Month. So I don't know if you guys know, but there's a new Disney movie coming out featuring a Black girl as the new Ariel for The Little Mermaid. So I kind of wrote this poem as a response to that, and it's called Part of Your World. Brown eyes widen with wonder, little hands clasped in celebration, gasps of delight and disbelief. Joy burst forth from little Black girls as if it was Christmas morning. She's Black, they exclaim. Disney's new Little Mermaid emerges on screen with red locks and copper-colored skin, defying blonde, blue-eyed standards of beauty, swimming outside the box of white supremacy. There is a new story to tell. A Black girl can see herself reflected in this ocean. The tides of change are on the rise. But there are those who push back against these waters. Disney's Black Little Mermaid gets 2 million dislikes. They think fairy tale endings are not meant for us. Playing dress up, Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty don't quite fit. Never shown as the heroine or the damsel in distress. When will we be the main characters? Why can't little Black girls be princesses and mermaids? Do we not have fantasies and childhood dreams? Why does our brown skin blind others to our innocence and humanity? Why can't we be part of your world? But our dreams cannot be deferred. Little Black mermaids are swimming upstream, overcoming the currents. Black girlhood is more than fighting the tides, it's making waves. Black girlhood is fluorescent beads on the tips of braids, click-clacking boldly against the wind, marching to that click-clack beat of our own drum. The Black, kinky, tight, or wild strands of our lives pulled into braids, tied all the way back to African tribes. Women adorned with crowns of cornrows and Bantu knots. It's ours sitting in mama's lap, hands weaving together locks of love. Hearing stories about her Black girlhood, passed on through generations, woven together, forever connected. Black girlhood is froze that reach up to the heavens, defying gravity, for nothing can hold us down, full of Black girl magic. It is hugs that smell like cocoa butter, Sunday church dresses and cooking with grandma. It's soul and dance, rhythm and blues. Black girlhood is a rainbow of colors. Rich hues from gold to mahogany. It's the swing in our hips or the maroon in our lips. Skin kissed by the sun, sweet as honey-coated chocolate. Black girlhood is intellect and invention, creativity and art. We are leaders and trendsetters, writing our own stories. Rising like the sun from even the darkest of seas, our voices cannot be drowned out. We may not be part of your world, but we will create our own. Thank you.
And now we will salute and do a tribute by proclamation to Women's History Month. Mayor McCartney.
So thank you, Michaela. You know, I was at the Black History Month event at the high school and you brought everyone to their feet. And some of the singers that were there brought tears to everyone's eyes. So thank you so much. And in your comments just now about the tides are changing, I'm glad you're seeing how tides are changing with the number of women that are here that serve in our municipality. And we're here to celebrate them this evening. So with that, and I've only been in office for 67 days, I think. And the last 2 months have been busy. Very busy. I mean, I thought I was busy as a council person, but it's busy. But the reason I wanted to do this for all of you is that I have touched base with all of your offices over the past 2 months. And I am just so proud and pleased with the work product, with your work ethic. And that's why I wanted this on tonight's agenda as we kick off Women's History Month. So I'm happy. I'm happy. So our proclamation, and thank you, my council colleagues. Whereas American women of every race and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of our lives, constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. We have played a unique role throughout history by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force in the nation. And we were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation. And we have served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. And whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military. American women have been leaders, not only in securing our own rights and suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially a peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. The contributions women play a significant role in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. So whereas I, Mayor Susan McCartney, and my town council colleagues wish to recognize the invaluable contributions the women working in the township have made and acknowledge their dedication and commitment to our township. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Susan McCartney, do hereby proclaim the month of March as Women's History Month here in the township of West Orange. And I thank you all.
So, Madam Mayor, it is you who leads this wonderful township as the first elected mayor, female in 2023. This rose, I would like to present to you on behalf of our council colleagues because it is a rose dipped in 14-karat gold. We want to give you your flowers and we want you to be able to keep them on your desk for as long as you continue to serve. Thank you.
So
And-
Michaela, now you have to come back into the things while Beauty and the Beast.
And for all of the females who have worked tirelessly every day to make our municipality the best that she can be, we also want to give you your roses, carnations, what we have. We appreciate it. So if each of you would come up, we want to give you. Yeah, so we can just the first row and then march on up, get your rose, and we're gonna take a photo up here.
Okay, yeah, come get it.
What are you doing?
Yes, ma'am.
Gotta go back. Now, just hanging out. Everybody look this way. Look this way. One more.
I speak.
So very much. We appreciate you.
$8 million.
Is grant?
No.
Oh, no. I want one too.
8.1 million GI bonds.
Oh, they got a bonds, yeah. That was amazing.
It's the only thing I'm not quite sure. You know, some of the money.
No, I don't lie.
No. Between one. I'm not sure. No, I think, so you can, I know with the short term debt, just, I think you can go, you'll have to explain it, I'm not.
All right, guys, as they're leaving, we're gonna continue because we have to acknowledge an occasion that we've celebrated in West Orange for 70 years coming up on Sunday.
They all have. But I don't think they left. I don't know. what
the parade.
Yeah, here comes.
Oh, they're here.
I don't know what they're doing.
And so without any further ado, we would like to introduce the Grand Marshal and Deputy Grand Marshals of our 70th St. Patrick's Day Parade. That would be Michael McCormick Senior, Grand Marshal, Megan McGurney Brill, Deputy Grand Marshal, Rich Hughes, Deputy Grand Marshal, and Michelle McHugh Schaefer, Deputy Grand Marshal. Thank you. Michael, would you like to have a few words?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you, the mayor, to the council. We repeatedly say this, but for the support of the Township of West Orange, we could not have this parade. Without the public works, the police, the fire, the government behind us, it would not happen. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your continued support.
Thank you.
Second thing I want to say, for me, it's appropriate that we're here right after you honored the great women of this town. Fun facts: first female Grand Marshal in the state of New Jersey, West Orange. First female parade chairperson in the state of New Jersey, West Orange. We've had more female Grand Marshals and more female parade chair people than, well, I think everyone else in the state. So we are the progressive parade that supports our women, and more importantly, our women support us and keep us afloat. So awesome that you had them and honored the women of this town before us. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So this year we have 4 honorees. Mike McCormick is our Grand Marshal. He could not be here tonight. There was a funeral of Ken Kunzman, who many people in this town know, a legend, a stalwart in the Irish community. Unfortunately, Mike could not be here tonight for that, because of that. To my right, one of our Deputy Grand Marshals, Rich Hughes. Rich was a longtime West Orange resident, a member of Local 68. I'll say a high school sports star in the township of West Orange. But most importantly for the Irish community, Rich is a long-standing member of the Irish American Society of the Oranges and has led us down the street many a year. And for that, we've honored him this year. Rich Hughes. We just skip over Meg for a second. And on her left, Michelle McHugh Schaefer. Michelle has been a member of the Women of Irish Heritage. She's been a member of, big supporter of the Emeralds. She is a member of the Sisters of St. Bridget. She is a supporter of the Shillelaghs. If there was an Irish organization in the state, Michelle has been there, and for that, we are this year honoring her as one of our Deputy Grand Marshals. So Michelle. And I say, last but not least, if you know West Orange, you know Meg. She has been a member of the Board of Education, a Rotarian, but most importantly, you see her work up and down Main Street, trying to keep small businesses afloat. The Downtown Alliance is a force, but it's only a force because of Meg. And for all of her contributions, we've honored her this year as a Deputy Grand Marshal.
So we'd like to again, thank you. Thank you for coming this evening. Thank you for everyone who helped organize and plan this, including our former First Lady, Ms. Sheila Parisi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we get to our liaison announcements, we've had a very robust evening this evening. I would like to ask the mayor to come forward so that she can introduce her mayor's wellness program and the committee members. Mayor McCartney.
Okay, thank you very much, Council President. So, back in November, when I did get elected, I was at the League of Municipalities Convention. And there was a table there for the mayor's wellness campaign. And as I was reading through their literature, we were doing so much that they were asking us to do. And I reached out with the help of Marie Tanis. She's not here, but I reached out to the mayor of Roselle, who had the program in place. And we met, committee members met with the mayor, Donald Shaw. Our senior coordinator, Laura Van Dyke, was there, our recreation director, Billy Kehoe. And I was just so pleased to hear him talk about his projects. And we had just so much more going on that I thought this is definitely something that we have to put together. So I reached out and we have this dynamic committee put together with support from our staff. Michael Fonzino is also on there. Joe Fagan is also on our committee, and Katia Stewart, Dorothy Sanders, Lynette Sheard. Craig Stanley is not here. He's also part of us, and Jessica Curry, who wants to help us put our farmers market back together. So all of these healthy initiatives, when meeting with Mayor Shaw, what I was really pleased with our staff was that, yes, we were acknowledging that we do these activities, and they were proud of the activities that we do and our programming that we have in place, but they were so eager to do more and to learn more. So we've only met a few times. Our agenda is packed and we have pretty much our whole calendar already spelled out for us. We also have a partnership with Montclair State University and St. Barnabas Robert Wood Johnson. So be on the lookout for a lot of screenings, a lot of information, and a lot of healthy news and things we can do. We want to put together also a monthly mile walk. We have 12 parks in town. We can meet at all the parks. Thanks to DPW, they gave me a map and we could walk around each neighborhood with all of the maps that they gave us. So we just look forward to everyone coming out to join us. And I would like to introduce the committee members that are here now. Please come up. Katia Stewart, Lynette Sheard, come up. Dorothy, Laura, Michael, Noelia. I did see Noelia here. Oh, and our representative from Montclair. Thank you. Great. Okay. Do you want to say a few words, introduce yourself? No,
Madam.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
So.
You've done that.
so
Thank
the
you.
staff are- So I just, wait, one more thing, and the staff knows because I've had 2 staff meetings so far. I keep talking about Sustainable Jersey because I am still the coordinator for Sustainable Jersey. And all of these projects that we're talking about gain us points on our certification. So that just is the icing on the cake. So I really appreciate, let me just mention all because there are a few people that couldn't be here. Marie Tanis, Kim Martin, I mentioned Craig Stanley, Jessica Curry, Katia Stewart, Laura Van Dyke, Bill Kehoe, Michael Fonzino, Joe Fagan, and Dorothy Sanders. So I thank you all. Should be fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
Thank
Mayor. You're welcome. All right, and we have just a few minutes left, so we'll try and see if we can squeeze in a couple of liaison announcements. For myself, serving on the Historic Preservation Commission, they had a meeting since our last meeting, talking about mostly Main Street and the corner Main Street hardware store, former hardware store. Just making sure as a historical designated property that it does maintain the integrity that it always did back in before it was modernized. So those have been some interesting updates and conversations. The planning board met on March 1st and heard a request for a conversion of apartments on 14-16 Main Street. And then we have a couple of upcoming activities. On Thursday, we have a communities talk session that's going to be held at Roosevelt Middle School from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And your elected officials, your Board of Ed members, your members from the police department, as well as other township officials will be available to have just a conversation, talk about what your concerns, your needs are in a less formal setting than when we have our open public meetings. In addition to that, on March 23rd, we will also have a women's panel discussion, Women of Triumph, and the theme will be Women Who Empower. Dr. Janice Johnson-Diaz is one of our guest panelists. Ty Cooper from the EDA is another one of our panelists. And we have Adina, I'm gonna mess up the pronunciation of her last name. So we're just gonna say Adina, but she's a very well-known restaurateur who is a West Orange resident and owns a couple of IHOP restaurants and vegan places throughout the neighboring towns. That's all I have. And I forgot Arkell. Yes, and Arkell Cox is also one of our panelists as well. Arkell Cox is an author and resident here in West Orange as well. And an amazing woman. They just all have a story to tell, and I think we should share our women's stories. Thank you. Do you want to?
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Council President. And my colleagues, you all should have received by now an invitation to next week's Realtor Open House held at Liberty Middle School on March 14th at 10 a.m. It is a closed event that only licensed realtors are invited to, as well as some officials in the township. Just out there working with the school board to present valuable information to the realtors in the regional areas around. We have a couple hundred realtors that were invited that are signing up for the event. So we look forward to that. The mayor will be our guest speaker, as well as the interim superintendent and our future superintendent, Mr. Moore. So we look forward to great information coming from that event. And I know Mr. Fagan's going to, there it is, Restaurant Week, March 19th to 25th. It's almost here. We have the website open, so you could go log right on to www.westorangerestaurantweek.com. You could see the specials. You could see all the restaurants that are participating. Any restaurant with 10 tables or more is considered a restaurant under the restaurant category. And then all the other eateries are considered light bites. So we look forward to viewing the website And I really appreciate all the input from our Public Relations Commission and the work of Ms. Brill and Amy McCampbell. They've been working diligently, and Perry Bashkoff with just trying to get this, Sherry Cork, everyone trying to get this up and going. So we appreciate all their support with this event. And again, the Public Relations Commissioners going out to talk to our restaurateurs. They really need your support. So we hope you can patronize them on the 19th to the 25th. And just a quick story, real quick, with a lot of the efforts that are being made. I was talking to Nicholas Anthony's, and for those of you who have seen it on social media, they are, congratulations to them. They were voted one of Yelp's 100 top restaurants in the country. So because of that recognition and the social media and sorry, so hard for me to talk with my and some of the social media and some of the press releases, that's the word I'm looking for. They're now getting patrons from Bergen County and all over state of New Jersey. So it's amazing to see how the push goes out there. So we will be putting out a lot of media for these restaurants as we welcome them and honor them Restaurant Week and for all the weeks to come this coming year. Thank you, Council President.
No problem. Would you like to? Yes.
So the West Orange Arts Council is meeting at 7 p.m. this Thursday at the West Orange Arts Center located at 551 Valley Road. You can also join via Zoom. To learn more about the Arts Council, visit woarts.org. The John Renna House Board is meeting next Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. And the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board is meeting on March 22nd, 7:30 p.m. at the Thomas Edison Historic Site located at 211 Main Street. That concludes my council liaison announcements. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one for me with regard to economic development. We had our first meeting. We are having a second meeting on March 23rd. We had a great first meeting. I want to thank our chair and our members for coming out. We were efficient, effective, and some really good ideas have come up already. And we're looking forward to our next meeting on March 23rd, where we will hear from some of the opportunities that we have in town to really spur economic development. What we're trying to do is take a holistic approach to West Orange development and give advice and counsel to the mayor in a way that is cohesive and helps us bring out both our character, tell our historical story, leverage the assets that we currently have, and help the existing businesses do better. So if you're interested, March 23rd is our next meeting. We'd love to have you there. Thank you, Council President.
Will that be in person at Town Hall?
We'll be in person in Town Hall. We have not created a Zoom option, but if enough people want one, I'm sure we can do that too.
Thank you. Councilman Scott.
Okay, I'm the liaison to the West Orange Environmental Commission, and we have a lot of exciting things that are going on there.
Just hold the mic to you a little closer. Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. This month, on March 15th, we have our Earth Hour Booster event, which is at the Edison Museum. And that kicks off our Earth Hour celebration. There are going to be a lot of wonderful presentations there. If you haven't been there before, you probably definitely want to join us. And the March 26th, from 8:30 for 1 hour, is an international event that we've participated in for many, many years, where we turn off the lights and the technology and the electric for Earth Hour. And that's something that this town is very proud to have participated in for quite a while. Next month, we have the Rahway River Cleanup, where we are looking for volunteers, and we hope you will all come out. It is on April 2nd. It's a Sunday. If you would like to participate in the cleanup of the river, please call the mayor's office and sign up. But we are really hoping that a lot of volunteers come out this year because it's a big event and we need a lot of support. Arbor Day is also on April 27th, where we'll be planting a tree at Redwood School.
Anything post-April, we can talk about at the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Not a problem. But what we did do last week, I have to say, we had Read Across America, which was a wonderful event where the council came to many of the schools. And I just would like to say that I was so proud to have invited the storyteller of the century. Joe Fagan came to Washington School. He was absolutely incredible. As we all know, storytelling is a lost art, and it's one of the ways our children learn listening skills and about our rich history. And he told a story from one of his books, and the children were so impressed. They all wanted to buy the book, and they came up trying to get his autograph. So I have to say he was the star of the week. They were very disappointed that the mayor did not make it, but we're hoping that and they're hoping that she will come again. So they have all of their thank you notes here for her. And I think it's important for us to know, there's so much controversy about the zoo and the library, but one of the thank yous from the children about the zoo was, Turtleback Zoo, thank you so much for building Turtleback Zoo for children to enjoy. We love to visit the different animals and learn all about them. Thank you for adding the new giraffe exhibit. They are so cool. The zoo has provided so much entertainment for us and information. We also love the light display during the holiday season. So some of these things that are controversial, I think it's good for us to remember the impact they have on the children. And another one is a library, which we're hoping everybody will enjoy soon. And they did acknowledge our police and Colgate Park and the schools. So I'm going to give these to the mayor, and I hope she will make some time to visit with the children or display them as she sees fit.
Councilwoman, is that it?
That's it.
Thank you. And that will conclude our conference agenda. Madam Clerk.
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on November 23rd, 2022, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on December 1st, 2022. Councilwoman Castellino,
Present.
Councilwoman Geber Michael,
Present.
Councilman Rutherford,
Here.
Councilwoman Scarpa,
Present.
Council President Williams,
Present.
Mayor McCartney. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The council is now in their public meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good evening, everyone. Just a few housekeeping rules before we start our public comment. We normally begin at 7 p.m., so thank you for your indulgence this evening. We did have a very packed agenda to recognize events and persons in our community, so thank you for that. When you speak during public comment, please be mindful to speak into the microphone, that you will have 5 minutes for your comments. And again, I always remind those who are here, whether you are here in person or via our Zoom audience, that while we do encourage public comment, we also want our residents to communicate with us via email and telephone. As Council President, I am hopeful that our public comment is not going to be the sole source of civic engagement. Please reach out to us with your concerns so we can address them collectively. We seek to make West Orange the best that she can be, but it takes all of us to be the change we want to see this year. And we will begin our public comment with our historian and public information officer, Mr. Joseph Fagan. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Council President, for your kind words. This evening, I'd like to start with a thank you from Mayor McCartney regarding last Tuesday. The snow has been noticeably missing this winter, but it certainly returned in seasonable fashion. And Mayor McCartney wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you to the members of the DPW and all West Orange Township employees who work tirelessly and unheralded to provide essential services to our community. I'd also like to mention that tomorrow is Holi. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And it's a springtime celebration. It's a Hindu festival that celebrates the triumph of good over evil, a good harvest, and fertility. Also, I wanted to mention that Township of West Orange is hiring. Of course, you've heard me in past meetings talk about school crossing guards that we desperately need, but we also need a public works driver and a public health nurse. Council President, I'm going to, even though this is not scheduled for April, I want to make brief mention of it tonight. And that's that there's water flushing for the West Orange has been announced. It begins in April 30th and it completed to May 12th. I bring it up because there's a certain things that residents should do proactively as they approach that date. They should draw water for cooking prior to the flushing period, perhaps store a large bottle of drinking water, and check for discolored water before using the washing machine or dishwasher because it may be brown. But I've highlighted what I feel is the most important thing after flushing. If the water pressure or water volume seems low, check your faucet aerators. Those are the screens on the end of your faucet. They're usually trapped with particles and the cause of the problem. Also, there's an initiative that Chief Abbott wanted me to mention regarding PSE&G. They have close to 500,000 utility poles throughout their region, and it's often difficult to get to every one of them to fix them. But the most important thing, they have to know where they are. So this number, you can report directly to them. Of course, you need the pole number. And in the bottom left-hand corner, there's some example of pole numbers. They're usually easy to spot. If you report the pole number to that, that will help alleviate the problem. So everybody is charged to report when they notice an outage. Also, earlier this year in council chambers was the Schneiders, Schneider Hardware, celebrating 100 years. Our friends at News 12 New Jersey had a brief piece on them this morning on News 12 New Jersey. So they got some added recognition, and they are the last family-owned hardware store in continuous business in Essex County and certainly West Orange. As Councilwoman Castellino mentioned, we have Restaurant Week coming up, and you think Restaurant Week, you think restaurants. Of course, that's what it covers, but as Councilwoman Castellino mentioned, there's also light bites. So you don't have to go out for a full-fledged meal. There's many participating businesses. There are light bites just for something simple. So remember to check out the website, westorangerestaurantweek.com, and there's something for everyone. I also want to mention that we have coming up Sunday, March 25th, 7 o'clock, Cody Arena, West Orange, the New Jersey Warriors versus the All-Stars of the West Orange Fire and Police Department in a combined hockey team. It's a great event, and it's $15 per person, and all proceeds go to charity. I mentioned the West Orange Police and Fire All-Stars. Actually, every participant in this game is considered an all-star. Speaking of the West Orange Fire Department and Police Department, yesterday was the anniversary of the founding of the West Orange Fire Department. They are 139 years. They celebrated their birthday yesterday. And unfortunately, on a sad note, yesterday was the anniversary in 1927 of the first West Orange police officer killed in the line of duty. His name was Edward Brennan, and he slid out of control on an icy Eagle Rock Avenue near Mountain Avenue. As Council President mentioned before, if anything needs addressing, you can use this email to address the council. All members of the council will see the email, and they'd be glad to assist you with any matter in any way. And of course, my contact information is up there, my email, my phone number. Please, if there's anything you'd like further information on, please send me an email or call me, and I would be glad to help you. Council President, I think I said enough. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. Would you please, by show of hands, raise your hand if you'd like to speak for public comment this evening? Yes, please come forward. State your name and your address for the record, and then you may begin your comments.
Just want to say good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Richard Groves. I live at 41 Yale Terrace, West Orange. Been here almost 30 years, 28 to be exact. I come before you because I was listening to the last meeting and I had some concerns about what was being talked about with regards to real estate development. The first thing I want to say is that this is all revolves around that. Is that I also reached out to the mayor regarding Janice Adams, the director of planning, with some issues that were occurring in town. And I'm assuming, Mayor, you'll get back to me soon with what's happening with that, correct? Okay. Well, anyway, I was expecting to hear back from you, which again is all about the public. So I want to put this in context with regard to why I'm here, my background. I'm a financial retirement specialist across the state, a real estate developer working throughout the state in Jersey, some other places. Raised my kids here, and recently I was appointed to the board of Downtown Alliance. So I have a vested interest in seeing what's going on here. Last week, I heard a couple of people talk about Crestmont. One of the other folks was talking about the lack of having a planner over development in town. And they talked about Daughters of Israel, Equestrian Place, the manor, and a lack of a full-time planner to update the master plan. And I look back to see when that was occurring, and I think it's about every 10 years it's supposed to be. And last time was looked at as 2019, but it just was looked at. And what I realized is that all the places we work across the country and run the state, it is a master plan. In regards to the Rock Creek golf course. I didn't know all about it, but I went back to look at what was going on. So in 2019, it was purchased for $11.22 million. And I believe some of the people here were on that part of that. And at that time, they talked about a plan for redevelopment, even at that time, with regards to what could be put there and taking up some of it and putting residential space there and so forth. And I believe Trank was part of that process there. In fact, I heard some talk about, no planning is done beforehand, and that's absolutely not true. We work across the country as developers, and we're always talking to administration about what's possible, plans, possibilities. And more importantly, there's usually a master plan that gives you an idea of what you can do as a developer in that town or what you can't do, right? And some of those plans reduce the ability to overdevelop, because it has in the plan there needs to be open space, right? So the idea that there are not always talking about that is not necessarily true, or maybe you're not part of the conversation. But this was done by Patch, and it talked about the fact before the purchase of that property, and then I was told that possibly the purchase of property was to prevent other developers from coming in. But in your master plan, you could prevent them from doing everything, because developers read it. We say we can't do that, so we don't go there, right? But Mr. Trank showed up with a slide, I think it was 2019 presentation made by former Robert Parisi. I'm reading this out of the patch. This is not me, this is the patch. And it showed that, council purchase was finalized. The site mentioned several possibilities of small scale residential development of 15 to 18 acres, including 175 residential units and with affordable housing. I'm really big on community impact. What does it do for the community? Even our developments, we're always trying to take in consideration, what does that do for the community? And there was a quote that was in there, it was a study done by Christy Whitman back in the in-depth study called the Rateable Chase. And it showed that for every dollar collected in new taxes for residential development, it cost the town developing $2 in extra services needed for that. Meaning we don't make no money. I'm a business guy. I've been here a long time. When I moved in, my taxes were $5,000. They're 19 now. I'm not sure I'm getting any more for that money. I do know that if we do things like this, they got to raise taxes. The money has to come from someplace. I saw in the budget, there's a $1.2 million budgeted for this at a loss primarily. That means you guys got to get money from someplace. That means you go back and asking me again. I'm almost turning 65. So I'm a senior. Never thought I'd be able to say that, but I'm almost a senior. Seniors don't want to pay that extra money. I'm not sure if I'm grandfathered in, but if you can grandfather me in, I'd appreciate it, right? So I have a few more seconds here. So here's my last thought about this thing. Throughout the state and most of the cities are moving forward because of a master plan. And here's why.
Your time is up.
You have to summarize with your last
Okay,
sentence.
so I'm summarizing here.
With your last sentence.
My last,
Yes, thank you.
okay. Basically, it's all about the leadership. I think you guys can be great leaders if you choose to. And what I fundamentally believe, I know that Ms. Garamichael was reached out by the exec, as a county executive, about repurchasing this place. And I think that that's
Mr.
a plan
Groves,
of action.
I have to ask you, I have other people, and 5 minutes is our maximum time.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
The last thing I just want to say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Yes, come forward, please. Thank you, sir. Hi.
I'm Jonathan Redwine. I live at 10 Cobain Terrace. This is my first time to come before the council since the last election, so congratulations to the new council members. I'm glad to see you. I went to Mayor McCartney's office hours last week and gave her a book that I picked up during the pandemic and read it. It's about climate change, why climate change happens, what we can do about it as individuals, as municipal governing bodies, from a county perspective, from a state perspective, every level in our country. And it's really interesting. It goes into detail about why climate change is real, why it's happening, and what we can do to address it. So I brought a book for everybody. And I hope that you'll read it. It's not long, it's like 200 pages. It's not a heavy lift. Mayor McCartney emailed me today and said she read the first line in the preface and was fired up. So that's a good sign to me. Charged up. Thank you. This is the issue that I think is the most important issue that we face. I think that it impacts every other issue that we talk about, from equity to taxes to even violence and crime. I think that addressing climate change is critical for our generation and mainly for our kids. If you want to cut to the chase, on page 207, it's broken down what each person who has a specific role in a society can do. There's a section for if you're a mayor. There's a paragraph for if you serve on a council. There's a paragraph for if you are an individual living in a house. There's a paragraph for if you are in the county government. It's 2 sentences and it sums up exactly what you can do. So I responded to Mayor McCartney's email today and I said, we should talk about this and I want to help. I think we could do 3 things in the beginning. I think we can continue to focus on encouraging the charging infrastructure in town for electric vehicles. I think we're already doing that and I hope we'll continue to focus on that. I think we can also take a really close look at what energy is consumed in our municipal buildings, so what we're using, and get a very detailed understanding of that. So how much electricity we use every month, year, how much, in every building across the municipal plant. And then we can begin to address where that electricity comes from and think about greening those sources. So that's the second thing that can be done just from a municipal perspective. The third thing I think would be really helpful is to engage the community with specific discussion about what kinds of resources are available for individuals if they want to put solar panels in their house, for example. If they want to increase the insulation in their house, there are resources and subsidies that are available to them. And people may not know about them, but if we can present them in an organized way with contacts to contractors, maybe negotiating better prices that contractors could provide to people in our town, I think that would help motivate people to actually take action Personally, the thing that I run up against every time is just how do I start? I know this is a problem. I know there are things I can do. How do I even start? Okay. How much is it going to cost? Am I going to engage somebody and then the price is going to go up 3 times? You know, that kind of thing. Though that kind of information coming from the town would be really helpful, and a sort of systematic, organized engagement from the town would be helpful. One example I think that you guys should take a look at if you're not already aware of it is in Madison. They have an environmental committee that sets out goals for the town every year. And they've been doing it for 2 or 3 years, I think. And Rachel Ehrlich is on the council there. And I'm happy to introduce people if you like me to facilitate that contact to understand sort of how they're addressing it. So I think they're doing a really good job with it. So anyway, I've got 35 seconds left, so I'm just going to hand out books.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Thank you for all of your recommendations as well. The next person, yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If anybody else wants one, I got one left, and I'll order one for you.
Good evening. That's right. Mayor McCartney and town council. My name is Deneen DiBernardo. I am a dispatcher with the West Orange Police Department. I'm also shop steward for Local 560. In regards to the study that's being done for shared services between West Orange and Livingston, we were never advised of this study being done. So on behalf of Local 560, we're just requesting to be informed of what each step of the assessment process is being done.
Thank you. No problem. Could you just repeat your name for us, please? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I have no voice. Deneen DiBernardo.
Deneen, and okay. Can you help me with the spelling of DiBernardo?
Sure. D-I-B as in boy, E-R-N-A-R-D-O.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate your service. Yes. Mhm.
Good evening. Before we start my time, can I just piggyback off of something that Mr. Fagan was brought up a little while ago?
Not before we start your time. No, you can tell me who you are.
All right.
All right.
No problem.
Go ahead.
Yes, no problem. Okay. So good evening, council members. For those who don't know me, I'm a firefighter here in West Orange and one of the 7 firefighters that were affected by the
Can you
COVID-19.
state your name and address for the
Sorry,
record?
Carmine Ruda, 29 Beaverbrook Lane,
Thank you.
Denville.
Thank you.
I'm not here as a representative of the West Orange Fire Department or as a spokesman for anyone involved. I'm here today to inform you all in person that this is a still ongoing issue with the firefighters and the police department with the township of West Orange. I have my phone because I left my paper at home, so.
You're fine. You're totally fine.
The township has not fulfilled their court order from Civil Service Commission awarding our full back pay and pension time. On January 6th, Mayor McCartney did issue the payment of our back pay, but the township administrator has not made our pension payment. The township is fully aware that our pension payment, they can make a pension payment at any time, but they're taking the stance that it can only be done quarterly. The misconception is that this issue is over because we were paid, but the truth of that is it's far from over. Yes, we did receive our back pay, but at the same time, the township is going through with an appeal to try to take it back. They have challenged us multiple times, even though the commission continuously ruled in the favor of the employees. The township administrator has and continues to fail at his fiduciary responsibilities to the township and its residents. This has been going on for over a year and a half, and it's going to continue through 2023. Mr. Gross has said multiple times in the past meetings that the council members cannot talk about this because it's in litigation or it's in contract negotiations. This is no way part of a contract negotiation. I think the council and the public have the right to know what and where you are in the litigation process. So when you go into your executive session, I hope you get the truth to where we were to where we are today. How many times can you appeal? How many times will you appeal? What is the actual litigation? And how many issues are there at hand? You have multiple law firms fighting two different issues against the two different departments, fire department and the police department, a civil service appeal and a civil rights litigation. That makes 4 different docket numbers. One case has nothing to do with the other. I see the attorney fees on just what I have paid out, and we have paid out, excuse me, and it's substantial. I could only imagine what the township is paying. I was not going to speak tonight until I received an email today from my attorney stating that the township is now seeking an extension. They are asking the court to consolidate the civil service appeal, putting the police department and the fire department grouped in to one here at the 11th hour. What is the actual reasoning behind needing an extension for an appeal that they initiated? Is this a ploy just to rack up my attorney fees? This has gone from professional to personal, and I have the documentations to prove that fact. We were put back to work on March 25th, 2022, and here almost a year and a half later, we're still going through this. Where most of you and my coworkers and the rest of the world have moved on, there is not a day that goes by that I'm not affected by what the township's actions. It does not matter if you agree with my choice or not, the law is the law. Despite what the township has and continues to put me and my family through since October 15th, 2021, I come to work every day, give 100% of my heart and soul to the township residents. I could answer any of your questions you may have with documentations to back it all up. With that being said, being a firefighter, I still have 1 minute and 13 seconds left. Mr. Fagan pointed out about PSE&G. Get a comment on that. Yes, there is a number on that pole, but treat all the wires as if they're live. While the professionals will call that number in. Don't go looking for that number just to call it into PSE&G. And actually, that kind of sums up where I'm at with my heart and soul for the township residents. Thank you very much.
5 minutes is a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else in council chambers for public comment? Going once, going twice. Mr. Puglisi, it's your show.
Good evening, Anthony Puglisi, representing County Executive Joe DiVincenzo. Just 3 events that I'd like to update you on. First, March 8th at 6 o'clock. In the council chambers is a presentation about our home improvement program. It is an income eligible program. So if residents do have some code violations in their house and they want to learn more about it, we'll have representatives here, and it is a partnership with the township. So we appreciate working together to bring this program to West Orange residents. Second, March 11th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Turtleback Zoo, we're having a job fair. This will cover all positions at the zoo and also treetop adventure, paddle boats. It's open for, we're looking for people to basically work during the summer. So they are mostly seasonal positions, and it would be for people ages 18 years and older. Once again, that's 10 to 2 at Turtleback Zoo, which is 560 Northfield Avenue, of course, in West Orange. And then finally, a lot of people right now look forward to spring training. We also look forward to the cherry blossoms in Branchbrook Park. This year's festival is April 1st to April 16th. It is going to be a little different this year because the Cherry Blossom Welcome Center is under construction. County Executive DiVincenzo is developing a new one. So some of the events that happen around that facility are being moved to the meadow where we usually do the fireworks, and that's the Bloom Fest event in particular, and that's off of Heller Parkway. We'll have plenty of sheriff's officers to guide people, and you'll see all the activity. As always, all this information is on the website, which is EssexCountyNJ.org.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Puglisi. Mr. Fagan, do we have any persons in the Zoom audience who would like to speak at public?
Any members of the Zoom audience wishing to address town council at this time, please raise your hand. Mr. Malanga, please state your name and address for the record. I'm sorry, Mr. Malanga, we had a little problem with Zoom here. Please state your name and address for the record.
And how many do we have participating in the Zoom audience, Mr. Fagan?
2 so far.
Okay.
Mr. Malanga, can you hear me?
Yes, Kevin Malanga, 57 Ridge Road, West Orange. Good evening, Council President, members of the council. I'm concerned that the township appears to be entering into the money lending business based on tonight's agenda. I would like the township to provide us with an explanation as to why lending $500,000 to a developer is necessary. Have we seen financial statements of this developer? It seems to have been a practice of township to enter into relations with developers or enter into business transactions without financial statements. I refer to Prism Development on Main Street, no financial statements. I refer to the Rock Spring Golf Club, no financial statements. And now we have a developer who received a deal of buying the library for $1 million and now is asking the township, it appears, for a loan of $500,000. Of course, the price of that purchase was determined by how much the developer could afford to pay, his words. So please provide us with an explanation as to why this is being done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malanga. Mr. Fagan?
Yes, Council President, we have one other person, Susan Lenschek. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Please state your name and address for the record.
Susan Lenschek, 234 Eagle Rock Avenue. This is in reference to Rock Spring. It appears that most of the residents who live in the vicinity of Rock Spring would prefer that the land not be developed. I would venture to say that most of the rest of the township residents agree. As has been stated previously, residential development is not a bargain for West Orange. The costs associated with more residences exceed the benefits. It seems that the county executive is still interested in purchasing the property. The county has the resources, the experience, and the expertise to own, operate, and maintain a golf course. Given all these facts, has anyone from the township approached the county executive to discuss this subject? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lenschek. Mr. Fagan, anyone else in the Zoom audience?
Any other member of the Zoom audience wishing to address Township Council, please raise your hand. Council President, I am seeing none.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. And can you give us a count of how many participants are on Zoom tonight?
Yes, Council President, there are currently 30 members of the West Orange community in the Zoom audience.
Thank you so much. Public comment is now closed. Council colleagues, we will respond to public comment. However, we do have a presentation. And we have Mr. DeFeo here that is going to go over our waste management current costs and potential costs. Can we defer public comment to after his presentation? Because I'm sure we'll have some quickly. He's been here for a second. He's been here since 7 o'clock. Mr. DeFeo, do you mind waiting about 10 more minutes for us to wrap? Are you okay? Thank you so very much. I appreciate your patience. All right.
Again, I just question the council again. The firefighter, who obviously we totally respect, made comments that litigation is pending. We are going to talk about an executive session. I would ask that none of the council members comment on it in public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Trink. All right. I want to thank everyone for coming out this night. We had a robust conference agenda, certainly robust commentary during public comment. Mr. Groves, thank you so very much. I do and am aware of your expertise along serving member or long-time resident of West Orange. And I am confident that you have nothing but the best interest of this town at the center of your heart and your mind. Thank you for joining the Downtown Alliance. I know that your contributions will add value there. Thank you. Mr. Redwine, thank you so much for the book. It made it 5 cents under the threshold. Otherwise, we would have all had to probably return it to you or pay for it because we cannot accept gifts in excess of $25 So thank you for this $24.95 gift. We appreciate you. And that is on public record. So certainly just responding to Ms. Deneen, thank you again for your service. Please know that one of the things that we are adamant about is open communication. So while I will apologize that you had not been informed, the council will be up to date and informed as we move forward on all things. So in the event we do seek and are able to pursue just the informational component for this upcoming resolution that's on our agenda tonight, if it passes, you will absolutely be advised.
Council President, if I might, it's unusual to interrupt you at this point, but if I might, I just want to apologize to Deneen that she was not aware. Unfortunately, we did notify her particular union has a representative, a paid representative, and I did call out and advise them of that weeks ago. So I'm really sorry that information didn't get passed along, but we certainly did. And I will speak to that individual and make sure that in the future that those things get passed along. So
absolutely. Thank you. I know that was not an intent. And then for Mr. Malenga, certainly we will talk about and continue to talk about development. I think most members of this council are certainly supportive of us having a planner to help support and guide and direct us as we continue to figure out what we are going to do with the parcels of land that are no longer going to be occupied or viable. So I think we are all in agreement. The mayor did run on a platform of making sure we have the direction that we need. And so not speaking on her behalf, but understanding that that is the direction that we're all looking to go. I think that completes my public comments.
Sure, I'll go real quick because I know we have a lot to unpack this evening. And Mr. Fagan, thank you. I neglected to thank you before with all your help and assistance on all the events, upcoming events. So thank you as well. Mr. Groves, excited to have you on the Downtown Alliance. But just to echo my colleagues' comments, we will have a planner and folks, everybody neglects to remember. So Rock Spring, when we purchased Rock Spring, there was, the former mayor had talked about development, had talked about a 9-hole golf course. We decided we didn't want to do that. We went forward with the 18-hole golf course to see what the community impact would be. And then lo and behold, COVID hit. And then we were all consumed, and rightfully so, with COVID. So, we're going to do what we need to do to look and plan properly, because that's what I know, we've been doing here, and look forward to the conversation surrounding that. And, mention, again, the county executive, appreciate his interest. I'm not sure if the mayor had any conversation, but, everyone remember, and I know everybody does remember when it comes time to talk about the zoo and the impact of the traffic, and no offense to the county, but again, we lose control of the site. The township will lose control of the site, and will lose all revenue for the site as well. So again, if we're going to if the mayor's going to decide to move forward any kind of those conversations, those two key components need to be worked into that conversation. So just wanted to remind folks, it's not just that easy. Rock Spring is complicated because we are and have been mindful of all the surrounding neighborhoods that surround that property. It's beautiful property. We don't want to lose site control of it. And we want to make sure that the revenue stream continues. Mr. Gross, because it was brought up this evening real quick, one point that was really important that unfortunately didn't come through in the presentation, and I'm going to ask you to just 2 seconds real quick. The capital improvements, the way that was laid out, and no offense, Mr. Trek, it just wasn't, you know, when you talked about the capital improvements at the meeting, I think we needed to go a little deeper, and it was hard because there's a lot of people, a lot of different layers. It's a complicated transaction, but the capital improvements are also being absorbed by Kemper.
Yeah,
Go ahead. You
if,
explain it.
yeah, part of our
Part of it.
financial agreement is a certain amount of the percentage of the revenues go to a capital account to offset, and that's a contribution by both the township and Kemper.
But that is going forward. That doesn't deal with, if you remember the slideshow, Kemper got input. It's $3 to $5 million in
Mhm.
irrigation issues with that quarter.
Mr. Trent. Your mic,
Your mic here, but.
no, the Zoom audience can't hear you.
He's on, no?
Well,
Okay, great, no problem. Okay, so the bottom line is the capital
Going
expenses
forward.
of the irrigation, what Ms. Rose is referring to is we now have a sinking fund being created, but it's by no means big enough, and I yield to Ms. Rose, to pay the $3 to $5 million that have been identified that'll be needed over the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay,
So-
and that's a
so again-
conversation we need to talk about and configure.
Well, it's just like the cart pass. You bonded and approved $1.5 million last year to build the cart pass. There's not enough money. As you know, we've made between 400 and 550, the most money being during the COVID years. It's gone down. I think last year it was 4 something. We lost $580,000 in real estate taxes. We're making a certain percentage. And what we built into the new contract is there's a sinking fund, but the sinking fund, again, we can get you the exact numbers. It's shown in all the reports you have. It's certainly not sufficient to pay for these, what I'll call substantial
Wish
capital.
list, yeah.
I don't know that that's a wish list though.
No, it's not.
It's
It's
the
not wish list.
irrigation system is not a wish list.
No, I realize, and again, I don't want to get into that here, but.
But Mr.
there's-
Gross is working on all
Yeah.
the numbers.
We need
Again,
to-
Councilwoman Deborah Michael asked us to do a further on it. I appreciated her request. And I know Mr. Gross is being annoyed by me on a daily basis, and he's gonna get it done. Obviously, we hope you'll have it before, during, and after the budget so that you'll understand the ramifications. So again,
Yeah.
as soon as we have it, we'll put together a YouTube presentation. We'll do it for the council. We'll answer any questions. All of the reports from Kemper have been provided and are available. So we'll continue to provide all the backups so that there's a full
Yeah,
transparency.
but it also has to be like laid out for the public to be able to
Yeah,
understand as well.
Again, as soon as Mr. Gross gives it, we will sit with everyone and we will present it to the public. Not a problem.
Thank you, Mr. Train.
Sure.
Also, Mr. Redwine, thank you very much for the reading materials. I know working with you on the cannabis committee, you care a lot about the community, and we appreciate that. So thank you very much for thinking of us this evening. We appreciate it. And let's see, what I can comment on, Ms. DiBernardo, thank you for coming down tonight. I'm glad Mr. Gross had clarified that. And, Carmine, thank you for your service to our community and for being vocal. I know the past year has been tough on our employees, and right now, that's all I'm going to comment on, but thank you all for your service to our community. And that's about it. So anything else, I'll comment when there's resolutions. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Deborah Michael.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight, both in person and via Zoom. Mr. Groves, regarding Rock Spring, I've made myself clear in the previous meeting, and even publicly, I don't support development there. So thank you for your advocacy. Mr. Redwine, thank you for the book. Appreciate you very much. Ms. DiBernardo, thank you for coming out. I am confused to see the shared services agreement on the agenda again. After the last meeting, we pulled it. So I also stand firm with no. I believe that our town, size of 50,000 residents, the second highest call volume of dispatch calls, we should have our own in-house dispatching services. So I don't support this. I don't think shared services should mix with emergency services, which is crucial to quality of life and public safety. So I stand by that. Carmine, thank you for your service, and to everyone on our police department and fire department. Anthony Puglisi, thank you as always. Appreciate you and your information. Mr. Malinga, we will get into the 500K, and we'll have the Mr. Albert will be on tonight to answer any questions. Thank you, Richard, for that, Mr. Trank. And Miss Lenschak, I have answered and stood by my decision with Rock Spring with that. So thank you all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Rutherford.
Thank you, Council President. Again, Mr. Fagan, as always, appreciate your timely updates. Looking forward to the hockey game. Mr. Groves, obviously, I think very highly of you. I am the one that appointed you to the Downtown Alliance, so grateful for your service there. I was very clear in my commentary with regard to Rock Spring at the last council meeting. I thought the presentation was woefully lacking. I think nothing has changed my mind since then. And like my council colleague, I am against residential development, certainly at Rock Spring Golf Course. You, like others, have reached out to me and encouraged me to communicate with the county exec. And so, you know, while I am not in favor of selling the property, and I know other callers have even encouraged that tonight, I think, you know, we're required to at least understand what the offer might be. So I'm happy to hear it. But again, as I've said before, I don't think removing that asset from our role is a smart move. I think if we develop that properly, again, without residential development, we could generate significantly more revenue. Mr. Redwine, thank you for the book, the gift. I didn't even check the price. Thank you, Council President, for checking. In the Economic Development Committee, we are evaluating townwide solar now. As you'll see on tonight's agenda, there is some EV infrastructure already, and certainly we do need to be encouraged and to move more aggressively in that direction. And I think your third suggestion about informing the public on the resources that are available that will help them go green or be greener is important. And I do believe we have we may even have an opportunity to do some composting. I know that's been one of the things that's been discussed. We have a local company, West Orange Residents, and we use them for whatever reason. I can't even remember their name. Java's Compost, yes. Outstanding. So for those of you that are interested in composting, it's a great company and it's very affordable. But find your own if there are others out there that will do it. That's the only one around that I'm aware of. Ms. DiBernardo, I want to thank you for showing up and raising your voice tonight. Certainly sorry to hear that you had not been informed. I'm glad to hear the business administrator address that and make sure that you are kept in the loop. We need to do a better job communicating with our employees, certainly with regard to changes of that magnitude, but even with smaller issues as well. So thank you for having the courage to come out, and you can certainly count on some support from the town council. Mr. Ruda, I want to thank you for your service and all of the firefighters as well as our police officers. I know that our town attorney has cautioned us about speaking about it. So what I will say is that there has been plenty public comment in this chamber and recorded council sessions about where the town council stands with regard to these lawsuits. And so I'm disappointed that you had to even address us tonight. And it is on our agenda. So I will reserve any further comment. But I will say that I am disappointed that you had to even show up. Mr. Puglisi, thank you as always for your timely information. Want to reiterate, and just for clarification, the home improvement program that is tomorrow night, right? 6 p.m. right here in Town Hall. So please, residents, if you need some assistance, come on out and find out about the program. Is that the same one that we talked about? That
It's
was
the second one. We had there was one on Saturday that you and I discussed, and it was very well attended.
awesome. So it's a continuation of what was done on Saturday. I know I have at least one resident that could not make Saturday, so thank you for making two different appointments available. And I do applaud your effort with regard to the other announcements you made. Mr. Malanga, we are going to address this $500,000 loan. That is an item on the agenda. I will reserve further comment until we actually get to that point. And Ms. Limchek, she is the one who also called in and encouraged us to consider the county executive's offer regarding Rock Spring. Like you, Ms. Limchek, I do not support residential development there. This is now the third presentation that I'm aware of on residential development, and I'm hopeful that it will meet the same fate as the prior two. That's it for me. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gleasy. And again, Mr. Fagan, you're an invaluable resource to us all. Richard Groves, I want to thank you for bringing the stats to light, because I have long been familiar with the statistics that you've quoted about the cost of residential development. I ran on a platform of limiting residential development. Not only is it the cost of the community services, but the cost to our infrastructure. And I think I've talked about that before here in council chambers at council meetings. But thank you for putting the numbers there. And I am not a fan of any residential development on Rock Spring. So you can be assured that that's not something that I would get involved in. Mr. Redwine, thank you so much. You might want to drop by the Environmental Commission sometimes. We are talking about a lot of these different things, and you sound really well read, and I'm sure you could loan a voice. We are doing many innovative things, and I am always open to learning more. There's just so much to learn. So please keep me apprised of anything that you think I should know about. Mrs. DiBernardo, I'm sorry you weren't informed, and I want you to know that I have personally really benefited from not only your dispatch services, but our firefighters. Thank you, Carmen Ruda, too. The firefighters saved my dad's life, and I had him with me for 3 years because of the incredible work that you do and you continue to do over those 3 years. You are very near and dear to my heart, and I am also very disappointed that you have to even be here. And, you know, we do need to look at the cost of litigation versus just, settling. So thank you very much for coming. Mr. Malango, we're going to talk about the $500,000 to the developer in just a moment. And Susan Lenchek, I think you know me long enough to know that I am not a fan of developing any residential development on Rock Spring. So I think I got everybody.
Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, now, Mr. DeFeo.
Mr. Franzino is near the party.
He's going to introduce him?
No, they're
Oh,
both coming up.
okay.
Together.
Mr. DeFeo and Mr. Fonzino, please join us at the podium. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to this evening's meeting. We appreciate your support and participation. So if I can just take a few moments to introduce you. Thank you so much for sending us your resume. I'd like to share that information with my council colleagues as well as the residents here in West Orange. Mr. Wayne DeFeo is the principal and founder of DeFeo Associates, a full-service environmental consulting firm that provides clients with environmental expertise with a strong emphasis on environmental sustainability, everything that we've been talking about this evening. Mr. DeFeo specializes in the development of sustainable solutions for commercial, institutional, and residential buildings, including every component of building operation without forgetting the most important part of the building, the people in it. He helps to develop environmentally friendly purchasing policies, energy reduction strategies, lead building practices, recycling and solid waste handling systems, and bid specifications for numerous municipalities within New Jersey. He is very distinguished. He's recognized as an environmental expert in both state and federal court and within multiple state legislators. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in biology and a Master of Arts degree in environmental studies from Montclair State University. He is a certified teacher of science and a LEED accredited professional and a New Jersey certified compost facility operator. He has received numerous awards for his contributions to the environmental field. And as we all know, we have a substantial contract that is going to come before us before the end of this year. And we wanted to get ahead of it so that we could have our professionals here guide us through this daunting process. Mr. Fonzino, do you have anything to add before Mr. DeFeo gets started? Thank you. Mr. DeFeo.
Good evening, everybody. And first, congratulations, Mayor, Council President, and all the members of the council. For me, this is the new council, effectively, not quite completely new, but almost all new. And thank you and congratulations to you all. You have your work cut out for you.
Thank you.
You are coming into a time where right now, West Orange has a bid in place where, and this is a summary of the services you provide to your residents. This is an extraordinarily high level of service for solid waste and recycling collection. It is in fact higher as a level of service than virtually all of your surrounding communities. Now, the basic premise is simple. The more service you want, the more you have to pay. Now, I shouldn't say that. I don't mean it to belittle it or to make it sound like it's instructional, but the reality of it is, and I know this is small to look at, we surveyed 7 of the communities around you, and in yellow, that represents the service West Orange provides and that they provide. In other words, you provide more services than most of these communities. And I can go back to any slide at any time. In the past 3 years, and you all have mentioned COVID on multiple occasions, well, COVID has beaten up the solid waste and recycling collection industry at a much higher level in some respects than it has other industries. And what has happened is that labor costs, fuel costs, equipment costs have all risen. This should, again, we think of it at home, right? Go to the gas station. Go buy produce, go buy food. Every cost is up across the board. What we are seeing in the last 2 years is that bids coming due and coming into play, where towns maintain the same level of service that they have had, prices are increasing between 33 and 150%. The record is 160%. And this is in the last year. Over the past 3 months, the numbers are going in between 54 and 80% increases. This is just something that every town is having to face. To make you feel a little better, and I mean only a little, you are not alone. Every town is facing the same thing. So what can you do? At best, you can contain costs if you're lucky. I'm going to tell you that if you took every recommendation on this list and implemented it, your price would still probably go up. The question will be, how much will it go up? And I mentioned, some of you mentioned earlier about energy conservation and what can we do to improve that? All worthwhile goals. You will find often that you do energy conservation measures on your home and your bill still goes up because bills went up. The question is, what would it go up? You collect solid waste twice a week. That's luxurious in today's market. Many towns do once a week. Now that doesn't cut your cost 50%, but it does help contain cost. You have an extraordinarily generous bulk waste collection program. And we know from surveys around other municipalities in the state
less than 10% of the residents of a town use that service. Some use it a lot, but that's an awfully big jump and price to pay to serve 10% on a regular basis. We know that fuel goes up. Well, if I have to bid your contract for 5 years and say, what will fuel cost me 5 years from now? What I'm going to do is bid that as if it's going to be really expensive in 5 years, because I don't want to lose money. Now, I know you know all of this, Council President, better than I do, but understand that these things are all impacting your costs. So what can you do? You can put in a flexible fuel adjustment provision. We'll talk about that later with administration. But when fuel goes up, you pay more. When fuel goes down, you pay less. In fact, in one of the neighboring communities in Passaic County, they're getting their first fuel adjustment surcharge in March, and they're actually getting a rebate from the hauler because the price went down according to the index. So sometimes it works to your benefit. Establishing carts. Carts make collection neater, cleaner, and they control the amount of garbage that can be put at the curb. You effectively, although you don't technically, people put out pretty much what they want. You have commercial collection. And by the way, nothing on this list is what I'm telling you you have to do. It is simply telling you what towns and municipalities are considering as a way to attempt to contain costs. They're things for consideration only. Many towns have stopped collection for commercial businesses. I'm not telling you to do that, but I am telling you that costs you money. You currently have single stream recycling where you can put your cans, bottles, and paper together. That is now very expensive. Unfortunately, the markets are not great right now. And when you put more things together, you have to pay more to get it taken apart. Consider changing back to dual stream. Consider taking ownership of the recycling. 5 years ago, the recommendation was let the hauler do that. I can't say that's a good recommendation today. Times have changed. It could be indexed to a formula. You pay for that. Again, if I have to guess, if I'm your hauler and I have to guess what the market's going to do in 5 years, I'm going to guess it's going to be horrible in 5 years and make you pay for all 5 years, even if the market's good. Because I'm not taking the risk. Electronics curbside collection is wonderful, but you do have a recycling center that takes electronics. You can continue it, but it costs money. Within your bid, it says you collect dead animals from home. I'm not quite sure who puts their dead animal out for garbage collection, but it does say that you can do that. It's probably been there for 50 years. This is what cart collection can look like. Towns that have converted go through an adjustment period, lots of complaining, and then all of a sudden, if you try to take their cart away, they complain again because they learn to like the cart. It's clean, it's neat, it's orderly. West Orange cannot be collected, as this picture indicates, throughout the town, but through much of it, it can. Why is this more efficient? One person on a truck versus 3. No matter what, prices are going up. Best we can do is hope to contain. If you have a new system, you must educate way in advance. In one of the communities I've worked with where we've converted to carts, they started educating 6 months in advance and are still being flooded with calls with people saying, I didn't know anything about it. And you know that's going to happen. But they put staff in place. They hired staff to handle this issue. And they trained the staff. And it's working. The new system, whatever you decide, you have to have staff in place. Your current staff can't handle the increased volume with new systems. I'm telling you, no community staff can. Where there is enforcement required, you must enforce. The first time an enforcement agent goes out and is told, pick it up anyway, you've now undone your system. It's unpopular, it's not pleasant, but it doesn't take long. And lastly, I say it again, you must have a strong education program. Now, some communities discuss bringing collection in-house. There's nothing wrong with thinking about that. This is way too complicated a slide. I draw your attention down to where it says total cost. In a, I'll call it back of the napkin, but a much better back of the napkin than I would normally use. Your total cost estimate to come in-house tomorrow would be about $15 million per year. You currently pay about $3 million. If that number doubled from 3 million to 6, because I said it could go up over 100%, you're still not there. This is not based on a full cost analysis. It is a preliminary one. But there are many factors in here that work against you bringing it in-house. I don't know where you'll park 30 trucks, which is what you need. I don't know where you would get staff to man the trucks any better than the private sector is doing based on pay scales that you currently pay in public works. No town can do that. I know of one community, I won't say which one it is, that is, probably shouldn't say this, was paying drivers over $80,000 a year to try to get drivers and can't get anybody. The helper is making $21 an hour in some cases. I can go to Wawa and make $21 an hour. Why would I want to be on the back of a truck where the injury rate is comparable to a coal miner? These are the problems you face if you're considering these options. That's a very quick summary on a very complicated process. I would now try to answer any questions you have, if I can.
Yes, Councilwoman.
So is it possible, I have my home down at the Jersey Shore, I have the truck, the once a week with the automatic cart, which actually works great. However, we have a portion of the community that, we have overnight parking. So I don't know how that would work for us. Is there any way to do a split system where you would have, I would be great if we could do it, but I just don't see, we have parking issues now. And if they don't have their cars off the street, it's impossible, especially in a lot of our smaller streets in the township, to get a truck down.
Totally common in most communities. So to give you context of the worst possible scenario, the city of San Francisco provides 3 carts to every homeowner. And there's on-street parking throughout the city of San Francisco when it works there. When I also use San Francisco because West Orange is hilly, but it's not hillier than San Francisco.
Right.
You can make it work. What you would have to do is 2 different kinds of trucks, the contractor. One would be the picture I showed you. The other is the truck you're used to seeing, where the person gets off the truck, takes the cart into the road, and there's a mechanical arm on that truck to tip it. So you have to do a hybrid system. You're absolutely correct.
Any other questions, Councilwoman?
I agree with you. Thank you, Council President. I agree with you with us not hailing our garbage pickup, but what about the recycling portion? Did we used to do our own recycling years ago, or?
You haven't done your own recycling for a long
time, right? Years, like 20 years.
Yeah, and that contract, that last slide that shows the cost, that presumes bringing everything in-house.
What about just the recycling portion of it?
I'd have to do the math for the number of stops, but your issue bringing it in-house is still labor. You'd still need a large number of trucks. You still have to pick up all of your homes. You still can only pick up so many in a day. And you're talking about a massive influx of new equipment and new cost to the township. As far as the marketing of the recycling, I am suggesting to you that you pull that out of the contract, get a separate contract just with the market, the place where it goes to be processed, and put that on an adjustable scale. That is one way of containing your cost, because now the hauler doesn't guess what's going to happen over 5 years. You're going to pay the bill. You're going to pay for it one way or the other. The question is, do you pay the risk plus the markup, or do you simply pay for what the market charges?
Tipping fees. So I know when we looked at a cost analysis years back, one of the reasons to stay with the current multi-stream pickup was that it lessened our tipping load for the tipping fees. So the garbage becomes heavier if people don't recycle as much as they do now, because it's so convenient. So we go back to separating out the recycling, and the garbage becomes heavier? How does that work?
It's a good question. And when I'm suggesting to you is a dual stream concept where I don't know if you did it this way historically, but let's say you would collect fiber, paper 1 week, and then you would collect cans and bottles on the alternate week. And now people don't have to worry about it all at the same time. For the collector, that's even easier. On the 1 week, he's only going to the fiber market if it's a different place. And on the other week, he's going to the can and bottle market, I'll call it. You could conceivably use a cart system for that as well, conceptually. So it actually, yes, that comes down to education again. You must educate the residents to recycle and to recycle correctly. And that's the bigger issue. It's not so much what you put in the bin, it has to be the correct thing to put in the bin, or all you're doing is shifting the cost. And right now, when a facility is trying to take what's wrong out of your recycling, you're paying $195 a ton to have that done.
Yeah.
Because they penalize it.
Will you give us different options as you get
I've asked
closer
him
to
to
the
provide
conference?
us with 3 different scenarios.
Well, no, what, this is informational tonight.
Right,
And
but-
obviously, the administration will timely put the bid on the
Yeah.
street with many options.
Okay,
And then when it is hopefully we get a multitude of results. I would like Mr. DeFeo to comment on the fact that there are not as many people bidding in these contracts. But when we get the results, that's when the committee will compare apples to apples, apples to oranges, and then they will come back. And that's when you will consider which option
Okay.
you feel. And that's when the decision as to service, to go back to slide 1, is made, not tonight, because we hope for a miracle and somehow all the prices go down and we get lucky with lots of bidders and they compete. But so tonight is just to give you the information. September 10th is when the contract comes up. So the bid has to go out 60 days, but on top of that, because of the size of this bid, it has to go down to the Department of Treasury first. So it backs it up even more. So the likelihood is, and Mr. DeFeo, is you've retained him to assist us every step of the way through this process, and to counsel the mayor, the administration, and you. But at the end of the day, hopefully the bid goes out before around the beginning of the summer, if the Secretary of State, the Treasury approves it. And then we get the results back, hopefully sometime early August. And that's when the analysis and the hard decisions come. The only other point I want to make sure we don't forget, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Geber Michael, is the carts, going back to the carts, which would be unique, but as you know, it's done in many other communities. There is a difference, as you know, between capital expense and operating. All that money you saw up there, the 2.9 million or the 14 million, and plus the tipping fees, which are now about $1.5 million, that comes out of operating. If the decision is made to go with carts, that can be a capital budget item. So there, because you're going to buy them once, you won't have to buy them every year, and so you capitalize that expense over the useful life of them. So that does not have an operating expense. And if it helps you on the number, the global number, then, and you're willing to go to the education and all the people not understanding, which is going to be a process, then you may is the big term, save money. Maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And we may be more efficient because one of the nice things about the cart system is you can have them with microchips in there. So we'll actually be able to know when we went by and when we were on the street, we'll be able to capture that data and know whether or not, whose garbage we picked up and when we were there and all that kind of great data that we, help us with when we deal with our residents of, with their concerns. It helps us if we have facts. So.
And it helps with your education program for recycling as well.
And the microchips is such a brilliant idea because, as you know, we get complaints all the time. Mr. Franzino gets them mostly, that people say they didn't pick up, and many of those are valid. And Mr. Franzino communicate, but sometimes people put the cans out late. If they go by your house and there's no can, it doesn't pick it up. So therefore, you're able to pull the tape and say, no, they did go by your house at 6:30. Unfortunately, your can wasn't there. They didn't pick it up. So it's just creating more, we'll call it oversight.
It gives you more data collection. It's a radio frequency
Let me just make sure people get scared when they hear microchips. I don't want to get people nervous about the concept.
RFID.
It's a very short range radio.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gabor.
So thank you for that presentation, Mr. DeFeo. I have a question, and this is just, I guess, out of curiosity, and I'm not saying that this is a possibility or an option. Have we looked at not having garbage collection? Because those numbers are scary. To have to pay $15 million possibly a year.
That's if we did it in-house.
In-house.
That's not the cost that it may cost us. We have to
Okay.
put that out to bid. But if we were to do it in-house with buying the equipment, the personnel,
Then it could cost up to $15 million. But has another option been looked at? Like are there any towns in Essex County where they don't have garbage pickup and the residents are responsible? If so, just again, out of curiosity, to look at every scenario, what are those numbers you're talking monthly? Is it considered a big savings to the residents and taxpayers?
The irony is that typically what you're calling subscription service costs more.
yes.
Okay,
So in my case, I have subscription service.
okay,
Okay, I pay almost $30 a month for one 32-gallon can once a week. I can tell you if I broke those numbers down on a per household basis, you're not paying anywhere near that because you have an economy of scale. If you also did subscription, that means you might have 5, 6 different haulers driving through town on 5 different days. And it's rare for a community of this size and this sense density to have that. It's almost impossible.
thank you for explaining.
Councilman,
And we'd have garbage all over the place.
Councilman, do you have any questions?
No, I'm still trying to process this whole thing.
This is a lot. I agree. Councilwoman, thank you. Thank you, Mr. DeFeo. We appreciate you. We will be in touch. We will ask you and continue to ask you for questions and information.
So
And I was gonna
all I
say-
want to say to all council members, I realize it's a lot of process. That's why we brought it early. We want people complain we're not transparent. It's one of the largest contracts. And if between now and whenever you want to sit and talk individually or do a Zoom call, Mr. DeFeo, we welcome it. We don't want to shock you. So the goal is to educate as much as we can the community and especially you as the people who are going to have to make these decisions sometime this fall. So
And you
thank
mentioned
Mr. DeFeo. And all I can do is, again, Mr. DeFeo got involved in this community. I don't know if you gave the exact year, but it's almost 20 years ago. He has done an amazing job. The recycling center is not perfect, as we know, but every complaint Mr. DeFeo responds to. He's contacted the middle of the night, weekends. We've had issues, but he knows the laws of recycling and solid waste in the state as well as anybody else. And he's doing this around the state. He's a consultant for the county on certain things. He's a consultant for Patterson, for Wayne.
Thank you, Mr. Trink. We mentioned all that in his
Just wanna make
bio.
sure.
Thank you. And also just wanted to remind everyone that we talked about having a team for waste management.
They have a committee, Mr. Fonzino.
So I just wanted to ask Mr. Fonzino if he would share with us who the members of the committee are. If you have that available. At the microphone.
There's a
People
number,
step back.
there's a number of department heads and we'll send you out the list.
Okay,
A number of department heads as well as some members of the public.
thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, so I guess that will conclude your report.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your
Thank you.
time.
Good luck to you all.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Council colleagues, we have on our agenda this evening an executive session. Can we go into executive session and come back and deal with the remaining agenda items?
Do we need to,
We adopt that
Motion.
Council President, we do have an
Yes.
appointment tonight on a resolution appointment and the individuals here and their families here because.
Okay,
because we could
yes,
deal with-
absolutely. I
deal with that
apologize. I was
first.
unaware. Yes,
That would be great.
absolutely, we can. So I think this is for our deputy finance director, or is this for the tax assessor?
Taxes.
Tax assessor? All right. Please come forward. And you can. take-
Council, I'd like to introduce Jacob Newman, I'm sorry, Jacob Neiman. Jacob is a result of a long search that we've had to try to replace our assessor who left at the beginning of February. Jacob is has a master's of public administration from Rutgers University, graduate fellow from the Eagleton Institute, and holds his certified, he's a certified tax assessor, CTA, which is a requirement for this position. He's currently working for the Township of Ocean, has been their tax collector for, I think, 4 years now, and worked with them for 6. And we're very, very pleased. We had lunch with him today with the staff, and we're all very excited to present him here this evening. And Jacob, if you'd like to say a few words, please do.
Thank you very much for having me. Very excited for the opportunity. I just wanted to know, I'll have that MPA at the end of May. Graduate this May. Yeah, thank you very much.
We look forward. You have some big shoes to fill. Long time service from our former tax assessor, and we look forward to having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
So if you would pull that resolution and vote on that so that it's official, and
Absolutely, Madam Clerk.
that'd be great.
Okay, so it is resolution 70-23. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Okay, Councilwoman Castellino,
Yes, and
Coun-
welcome.
Councilwoman Geber Michael,
Yes, welcome.
Councilman Rutherford,
Yes.
Councilwoman Scarpa,
Yes, welcome.
Council President Williams.
Yes.
The motion is carried.
Do you want to give him the card?
We don't have to give him
We
a
don't- there's lots
carnation,
of
but we can
carnations.
certainly give his mother, his significant other, his wife. We can certainly give them carnations. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy Women's History Month.
So,
I didn't either.
again, Council President, I'm sorry, before you consider adopting resolution 61-23 for the executive session, we do have Mr. Albert and Mr. Sullivan, I believe, who are on the Zoom and available. I did appreciate the Councilwoman Geber Michael reached out to me today to ask a couple questions about this critical project that has been more than on the planning stages, but is ready to come out of the ground. And as Mr. Albert will indicate, they're going to break ground on it no later than April 1st. So if the council is inclined, because I would hope to hear the overview from Mr. Albert concerning resolution 63-23 and to consider that, the administration would appreciate that, but that's up to you.
Certainly, I don't have any objections to that request. Mr.
Mr. Albert is on the line and ready to go.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Alper.
So I want to remind people and give people the history and then turn it over to Mr. Alpert. This project, which will be immediately behind this building, is a result of the reality, which is that because of the redeveloper agreement and the project which is being built now behind Essex Green Shopping Center, the current library building will be vacated. It has been vacated, and therefore it will be a vacant structure. Simultaneous with this, as you all know, we had litigation, as did every other community in this state, 567 communities, with fair share housing. And we resolved that litigation in part by agreeing to build 64 low and moderate senior housing units on the current site of the library, including a dedicated 7,500 square foot permanent community center / room that can either be used, we've talked about it, auxiliary library, health center, whatever you so choose and find. And this is not like normal senior low and moderate income where it's only 30 years. This will be permanently deed restricted for low and moderate income. So Mr. Albert will now explain how, because of the time it's lapsed, and this project has been on the board since 2019 at least, and Mr. Albert will tell you about everything that's occurred, and Mr. Sullivan, I think, is on too. The world has changed. And that's why when approximately 3-4 months ago, He indicated that in order to get this project done timely, and the New Jersey Supreme Court has this project on its docket. We argued this case in December, and it will be moot if we close title and turn over title for the house. If we don't, the Supreme Court's going to rule on that. That's when Mr. Alpert said, we have a problem, can no longer get the financing we thought, construction and labor costs have increased. And that's when we looked at, and this is important, this is not taxpayer money that's involved here. This is the developer fees that we get every time there's a development, there's a fund. It's dedicated to low and moderate income housing. And so Mr. Gross looked at it. We negotiated what we have here, that we will get this money back, not till 2068. Some of you will still be on the council. Some of us might not be here. We'll get the money back for a future generation, but it is $500,000. So with that, I want to yield to Mr. Alpert to give the history and reason why this money is critical.
Thank you, Mr. Trent. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Alpert. If I may just interrupt you very quickly. There are several members of the Zoom audience with their hand raised, and I want to remind you that public comment is closed. If you care to address the council, you may email them at council@westorange.org. Mr. Alpert, I'm sorry for the interruption. Please continue.
No, thank you. And Mr. Trank actually took a lot of the talking points, but I do want to reiterate a bunch of them. My firm started on this project well over 4 years ago. And we, in 2020, first applied for tax credit financing from the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency. We were awarded those credits. Unfortunately, the project was delayed due to litigation, and the impact has been extreme. Construction costs, which is both material and labor, as everyone knows, have risen by approximately 25%. Interest rates from the time we first applied for financing have just about doubled from 3.62 to over 7%. And those delays due to litigation caused us to have a funding gap. We reapplied for tax credits. We were successful. We searched for every avenue to close the gap. We went to Essex County, and we were awarded a loan also from Essex County of $1.3 million. We maximized something called an Affordable Housing Production Fund from the New Jersey Housing Mortgage Finance Agency. Those funds are only applicable to projects that are 100% affordable and part of a municipality's COA spending agreement and spending plan. This project is part of your spending plan. These 64 affordable senior housing units will count towards your obligation in perpetuity. These do not revert to market rate housing. So these will be affordable forever. Those range of rents and why we need such funding. If you're building a brand new building with construction costs that have risen by over 25%, and your rents range from a low of only $315 a month for citizens earning only 30% of Essex County median income. Some units are then at 50% of median and 60% of median. But none of the rent levels, they only go up to $1,100, can support the new construction of the project. There's a gap. The gap is analyzed when it goes to both all the funding sources. So the project is not overfunded. And our gap resulted in a $500,000 necessary. You have the money in your trust fund. Your trust fund money throughout the state is funded, like I said, by market rate developers and other revenue sources, but not taxes, can only be used for the production of affordable housing. We are 100% compliant with that. And actually, it's the most needy sector of our population, our seniors. So the NJHMFA has calculated the needs assessment, analyzes the budget that is very transparent. We could clear it with everyone. But this project can't start this month. We planned on starting this month. If this was approved, that's a funding gap. We can't acquire the property from the municipality and pay the $1 million, and we can't start demolishing the portion of the building that be demolished without this approval. So we are hopeful that we could provide this housing after all these years.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate your time and your comments. Yes, are you available to answer questions from my colleagues?
Oh, of course.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
My question is directed to Mr. Trank. In our conversation earlier, you said you were going to rewrite the ordinance.
We did email it out. We deleted the word, you wanted to say the township has done the analysis versus township council.
Thank you. It was under my computer. Yes.
No problem.
Thank you for changing that.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't comfortable with the township.
No problem.
council. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Nothing has moved me from my original position earlier, so.
I'm sorry, what position earlier?
Well, I've spoken about this with with some of my colleagues. I believe I spoke about this with Mr. Gross as well. I'm concerned about one, selling the property for $1 million in the first place. Two, the entanglement, for lack of a better word, of multiple development projects. Meaning if any part of it doesn't work out, it affects all the other parts, which kind of pushed us through a process. And three, we still have a significant affordable housing deficit. And the dollars that we use there, I mean, this project was approved based on information that was presented both to you and the council and administration. I understand that costs have gone up tremendously. I'm concerned about giving back $500,000 now when we didn't get market rate for the property in the first place and not going to get that $500,000 back for 45 years, which if you do a present value analysis, that $500,000, today, 45 years from now is worth, several million or at least a couple million. We're going to get $500,000 back 45 years from now. It just doesn't, it doesn't seem right to me. I understand that there's been an emphasis placed on the fact that this is not taxpayer money. It is one way or another. It may not be residential property taxes, but it's not coming from nowhere. I don't understand the full mechanism of this stuff, but this just doesn't sit well with me. And I'm disappointed that we're getting this kind of a switch or new information or request to make a change with such a time constraint as well. So that's just my general thoughts. And I'm happy to hear, what my colleagues think and what the administration's position is.
So Council President, if I can respond on behalf of the administration. Number one, the $1 million purchase price was set years ago. It was approved by the town council. That is not subject to discussion. So that was approved. We signed the contract. We agreed. We agreed to sell this property to get $1 million, which will be used for the new public library that is almost done. So that was a gap filler for that. It was critical funds. We didn't have to bond for that. As you know, we got $3.3 million from the state under the Library Bond Grant Act. So that is not an issue at all. I can answer because it doesn't have any relevance to it. There is no entanglement. This project stands on its own. Mayor Parisi presented to this governing body saying that we need more senior affordable housing. The governing body approved it in its entirety, and we moved forward on that reliance. And again, Mr. Sullivan's probably on the call and could talk about the planning board approval, could talk about all the meetings we've had, including, again, the mayor's been on calls with Mr. Biondi, because if they don't put construction vehicles on this site before April 1st, he loses the 9% tax credits. Without these 9% tax credits, and it's far beyond my finance ability, then this project never occurs. The Lieutenant Governor of New Jersey in 2019 went to bat to get him approval on first go round for this at the request of this township. So there's no entanglement. This project stands on its own. And as Mr. Albert just explained, the people who will be benefited, who can only afford between $300 and $1,100 a month, are the very people that government is designed to try to help lift up. And that's why affordable housing exists in New Jersey. And this township has met every requirement. The Superior Court of New Jersey has approved our affordable. We are in total compliance. So any concept that we are not in compliance is not accurate. And of course, the numbers speak for themselves. So the fact that, as Councilman Rutherford admits,
Numbers are different than 2019. Yeah, we all know it. We just saw on garbage. It exists. And finally, this is not taxpayer money. You're entitled to your opinion. You can vote against this if you
I
want.
think I was clear just a minute ago. You said there's an emphasis on this not being taxpayer
not.
money. I hear you, but that's not in dispute. I still,
I'm sorry, you said it's all taxpayer money, but it's not.
okay.
It's not taxpayer money. This is developers who build, who have to pursuant to the laws of this town and the state, who pay a fee.
Mhm.
We're allowed to charge a fee. It doesn't get charged to you or I. It gets charged to developers who develop in the town. And that's where the money comes from. It's not affecting any tax rate in this town at all. It is, and that government permits us to do it, and we've done it for decades. And we funded projects for decades. So it is not taxpayer money. I'm willing to.
So I don't dispute that. What I'm saying is the fact that the developers have to put money aside.
Right.
When they do these market rate developments,
Right.
that money is put aside for the benefit of
Yeah.
the residents of that community.
No.
Whatever way you're going to use it. You're going to use it. This is for a an affordable housing requirement. Is that not true?
I'm sorry. We cannot take that money. We cannot. It's trust fund money.
For what purpose?
For
Affordable housing.
That's what
Is this the only affordable housing project that's going to be done in West Orange?
on the table right now. We funded, by the way, just so we know the history of this developer who has never made a political contribution to anyone in this town. This developer built Central Avenue. Central Avenue was fallow for 40, 50 years. And he hung in there for 15, 20 years, and he's developed it on the Orange side, he's developed on the West Orange side, and he is the designated developer with regard to what we call Biddleman Selective Flash. So yes, we have a new neighborhood there that we did, this council approved, I think it was $4 million or $4.5 million from the trust fund that went towards that project, and they're all open, operate 100% occupied with new families. So
I don't have a problem with Mr. Alpert as a developer, as a person. I don't have a problem with his projects on Central Avenue or the ones that are proposed in that area. But when you say this project stands alone,
yes,
that's different than what you said since I've been a councilman here, because we've had conversations both in this chamber and offline, the two of us, about Executive Drive and moving the library up there. And this is not the first time that these 9% tax credits have been cited as a reason why we need to move now. This is at least the second and maybe the third time that there was some danger if we didn't take a vote that he might lose those 9% tax credits.
Absolutely. I would stand by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these things to me are an issue. Now, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like that I take this position. But the fact that you say this project stands alone or stands on its own, it does not. This is the first time you've said that to me. This project has been a part of a movement of the library to Executive Drive since the beginning. And all of these sessions are recorded. So there's evidence of it. This doesn't stand on its own. And when you mentioned the council approved the $1 million sale of the property. So I understand that. It takes 3 votes to get that done, or that may have taken 4 votes to get that done. I understand that. I get it. Even in that process, even though you got the votes, there was no appraisal done. We sold it for $1 million. We don't know what the thing is worth. And so how do we know we got fair value? We don't know. We just did it to fill a gap in a financing scheme for a project.
But that is not before the council tonight. That's all I can tell you. I appreciate your.
All of those things. So this is the problem, Mr. Trink. This is the problem. What you are very comfortable doing is presenting a little bit of information at a time and having.
That's just not true. I'm available 24/7 to meet with you. I'm going to meet with you tomorrow. So if you're
Okay,
available.
Councilman, I'd like to
just finish my thought. What you're very comfortable doing, Mr. Trink, is presenting a little bit of information at a time and having us make a decision on that. And then we make that decision and then we move down the road and you present some more. And you can disagree, you're fine. This is my perception. This is my experience in the 3 years that I've been on this council. And so that is difficult for me to continue doing that. It puts the developer at a disadvantage. It puts the public at a disadvantage because it makes it harder to trust what you're saying in this moment when you move the goalpost down the road.
Council President, do you have my cell phone number?
I'm council president.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Can I respond to Councilman Rutherford's comments? 'Cause
Certainly.
I'm not personally attacking you. Councilman, the only
I'm
thing
not personally attacking you.
you are, I think it's a personal
You can
attack.
feel that way,
Okay?
but it's not a personal
Well,
attack.
it is.
Okay.
You're saying,
The professional advice that you've given.
You've had
in
an
this
opportunity
chamber.
to speak. I'm gonna ask you to give Mr. Trink an opportunity.
I
to respond.
appreciate, Council President, if when people speak over me, you do the same thing.
I certainly will.
And I apologize if I did. Again, I respect you totally, and I respect your ability to take any position you want, that you got elected. Okay, my job is to give you whatever information you want, and there is not one time you can point to in any email or in any communication that I've not been available to you, that I've not been willing to meet with you, and that I've not given you information. If you can, please indicate that on the record and put it, you don't have to do it tonight, put it in the record where I've given you any misinformation or whatnot. It won't happen. It should not happen. And I beg you, going forward, I respect you enough. I hope you respect me. I'm here to do a job. Anytime you want me in your office or to meet with you here, I will meet with you. Anytime you feel there's additional information you need, I'll give it to you. So again, please.
Well, I just stated what my issues were. I mean, you know,
You can revisionist history.
I stated what my issues are.
Thank you, gentlemen. Councilwoman?
Question.
Quick question.
Yes.
I want to thank you, Mr. Trank and Mr. Alper, for taking the time to speak with me earlier and give me information to help me understand this resolution. Could you just explain why, which I didn't get to ask earlier, that Mr. Alper gets 45 years to pay? Like, where does that come from, the 45 years? Why is it 45 years versus 10 or 15 or whatever that number is?
It's the formula by which the project stabilizes over time. So that is the projections and the analysis. And again, at that point, he will have to refinance his project. And at the time he does, because by that point, they assume that there will be certain capital improvements, like in anything, your house, my house, and there will be capital improvements. The way they set up these loan programs is they have to do a refi. And when they do the refi, since we have a second mortgage, they got to clear that mortgage. So therefore, we get paid.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Yeah, what else would that money be used for? I mean, if we
Again-
weren't going to use it for this,
Again, Councilman Rutherford said it's a dedicated funds for affordable housing.
but not for just this project. I mean,
But again, there are no
other?
There are
It's a
no
long
other,
time before we get the payback.
I'm sorry.
It's 45 years. What else,
No,
what
you're
other
que-
might we want to use that money for?
Affordable housing. It has to be used for affordable housing. And Mr. Trink has articulated that there are no other affordable housing projects at this time.
Mr. Sullivan, apparently, who's counsel for Mr. Albert, is and a longtime resident, apparently wants to add something based upon the record, and he knows the record as well as anyone. So if Mr. Sullivan could have a couple minutes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you. Yeah, I was having a little trouble getting in. I really don't have that much to say. I was trying to get in at the beginning. Obviously, Mr. Alpert is extremely articulate and passionate and experienced in doing this work. I guess I would just add that in this 5-year partnership with the town, where you have provided support for this project during that long road, that has included the planning board approval twice, both for the project and also for the subdivision. Also county approval, the original agreement of sale and purchase in April of last year and the 2 amendments. And then I did want to mention, I know that Richard mentioned this, in January this year, you adopted the West Orange Trust Fund spending plan that included in the plan the $500,000 for the library. So this is not really the first time that it's come before you. It was in the plan that you approved of how to spend this money in January. That's really all I have to say at this point. Maybe I should also add that because Joe didn't mention it, that we're at the point now where he has incurred substantial costs for construction drawings. We have submitted a full set of construction drawings to the construction department, and we are ready to go close, demolish, and start construction with the next couple of months. And you folks are the last step for us to that's the least legal procedural step that we get of the closing.
And Bill, can I elaborate a little? This is Joe Alpert. Based on the January approval, as Bill said, we engaged our architects to do full working drawings, and we submitted plans, and they're into the planning board on the assumption that this final step would be taken. But based on that initial approval in January of the $500,000, we probably spent more than that money doing the plans because we knew the library would be vacated by the end of March. And we were told we should be able to be ready to start. So we did all that based on what the feedback we got from the council.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Thank you, Mr. Alper. I'd like to.
Can I ask a question about this January approval?
Yes.
So can you, this 500,000 was included in which thing that we approved in January?
COA spending plan.
But it was designated for this project, or it was just an amount that was approved for our affordable housing?
No, Councilman, this is Mr. Sullivan. In the January 10 resolution, it specifically identifies this project as one of the recipients of the funding.
You gotta read your packets.
Councilwoman? Yeah, well.
I have a question, Joe. I have similar concerns that Councilman Rutherford has. And, $1 million price for the library is just like one of them. But in reference to this, do we have a contract for this to go forward at a certain price?
Yes.
And now all of a sudden we need $500,000 more?
This is no different from the ordinances that we approve when we have to come back and add more money to the building projects. That's not a problem, and I'm going to disagree with you because I'm going to correct you based on the decisions that this body has continued to make as well. And we've asked that no change orders be approved until they come before this body for us to respond to them. And this is basically a change order to a project that is potentially to be done and accomplished in the next 2 weeks. And so what we're saying now is something that we've already approved on January 10th that was identified in our packets, something right now where we're going to meet our COA obligation. The biggest thing that I harp on in this community is that we don't have affordable housing. We sit here, we talk about our seniors, we talk about how we want to protect them and provide for them. And now we're talking about risking 64 affordable units that will be affordable for those very people who we have been sitting around this table advocating for. I don't understand it personally. I really don't. I understand that everything goes up, but I can't understand how we would risk jeopardizing senior housing.
I'm not sure this is the best way to house seniors. There's a lot of AARP, a lot of other models that are much better on senior housing.
How?
And
How?
they have a number of different models of smaller group home type.
This is 64 units. This is not a large scale development.
Well, listen, I think in
I'm gonna call the
Councilwoman Scarpa's defense, she was not a part of the council when that vote was taken. She's new to the council, as is Councilwoman Geber Michael. But I just find it a little disingenuous and actually rude, some of the tone that's taken with regard to this issue. When we had this conversation last, and I don't remember exactly when it was, and I don't think it was the January 10, but there was an issue with the way the ordinance was written regarding the number of units, and I raised that as a question. We're talking about 64 units, and the agreement that we have requires the developer only to develop 40. And that's I raised it at the time. I've raised it in council chambers. I've raised it privately in conversations with council colleagues and Mr. Gross. It says 40 units. Mr. Trink, you even remarked on it when I brought it up. And you said, I don't know exactly why it's written as 40. And I know it wasn't changed either. So the point I'm making is you want me to accept a presentation from you. And I'm not talking about Mr. Alpert or Mr. Sullivan. I know Mr. Sullivan, I know Mr. Alpert. I'm talking about the representations you made tonight. You want me to accept those things. And my original, the statement I made a moment ago is, too often I get a piece of the story and then I get another piece down the road and another piece down the road. And I don't think that's the best way to do this kind of work.
So I would respectfully suggest that when you get the council packet, which you get on Thursday, that you call me and we'll spend every weekend and we'll go over any questions you have. I'm worked 24/7 for this town and I have for 25 years. So I apologize if you feel anything I've said is disrespectful. It was not intended that way. I offer that to you, Councilwoman Scarpa. Councilwoman Geber Michael has taken me up on that and grilled me and continues to, and that's her job. And I respect you both for doing that. But the problem that I have is to suggest that we're not giving you the full information, maybe not early enough, maybe not. If I don't hear the questions, then now I can't get you the answers. The point, going back to your question about 64 units and Mr. Albert's on the phone, this is going to be 64 units. We have fully engineered plans and you are going to get 64 units behind this building. So there's no issue on that. So again, all I can do is offer my accessibility and to do the best we can. I apologize if you have somehow perceived that any other way, and I will continue to strive to do the best I can. That's all I can do.
And I appreciate your effort.
Councilwoman Castellino.
Yeah, so I guess because I am the only one here that was present when we voted on this as a body, I'm very frustrated tonight because I don't know what was heard, what was said in private between conversations, but publicly, this has been spelled out every single time. The emphasis on the 9% tax credit has been there in every single conversation. The timeline. The one part where the person we should thank tonight is probably Mr. Malengo for the lawsuits and for the delays, which has sparked all this, which I've been frustrated for a couple of years now. This, I said from the very beginning when I ran in 2020 and was reelected as top vote getter and was out in the community the entire summer having to explain the misinformation that surrounded this topic. And I'm talking hours and hours on the campaign trail, and frustrated personally that year because that was the last year I had my mom and lost a lot of quality time re-explaining this project. The benefits to our senior community. You may disagree on how we could do it, but to come tonight and say, well, we could do another plan. Where's the developer? Where's the project? Where's the plan? So this is here. We're so close. And again, it's your right. And you came along after the fact this year, but again, this was approved, and I was going to mention the trust plan. And I'm sorry, I'm frustrated hearing all this evening. I hope you could all reconsider. I hope this is a 5-0. This is a great project for our community, and let's get it done. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Scarpa, you had an additional comment.
Yeah, I just don't feel comfortable with it at this point, and I'm very uncomfortable that the public hasn't had an opportunity to comment on this.
The public has commented.
They were told they couldn't.
The public has commented in prior meetings. I don't understand what you're saying. They didn't have an opportunity to comment.
There are people who wanted to comment on this.
It's a resolution.
It's a resolution. You comment during public comment. That's when you comment on this. So the public has been given an opportunity to comment.
Council President, I think, everybody needs to realize it's been going on for 4 years.
I am very clear. I'm calling for the vote.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve 6323?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Councilwoman Castellino?
Yeah.
On a clarification, does this require 3 or 4 votes to pass?
Three.
Councilwoman Geber Michael?
Yes.
Councilman Rutherford?
No.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
No.
Council President Williams?
Yes.
The motion's carried.
Thank you. Executive session. I am adjourning the
I
meeting.
think you got to make the formal motion and have voted on. That's what Mr. Kaiser wants.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You're always better off doing that.
So.
Not a problem.
Vote on the executive session.
Okay,
Thank you.
so is there a motion to approve resolution 6123?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried.
I just want to thank Mr. Alper for his patience all these years.
As well as Mr.
Sullivan, thank you.
Thank you both for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
The meeting is adjourned until we return from executive session. I'm sorry, recess. I apologize. Absolutely. Okay, guys, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Thank you so much for your patience.
If I just may interrupt you momentarily, While you were in executive session, we lost the Zoom signal,
Okay.
and I restored it. Unfortunately, when we lost the Zoom signal, everybody got signed out of the meeting. Most of those attendees have signed back in, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Thank you so much. We apologize for the technical difficulties as we continue to move forward in this hybrid season. We know that things don't always go as planned, so thank you for zooming back in. We have just a few more minutes that we'll continue our meeting. Madam Clerk, on the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Approval of minutes of previous meeting, public meeting, February 21st, 2023.
Consent.
Report of township officers. That was Mr. DeFeo who presented this evening. Reading of petitions and communications and bids, none. Bills, none. Resolutions, are any resolutions being pulled this evening?
Yes.
Oh.
If we can pull 71-23,
Do you have questions or do you want it pulled?
I want to pull. We said no last time, so I
Yeah.
don't know why it's on there again.
Okay,
71-23.
gotcha.
Thank you. Any other questions on any other resolutions?
I just wanted Mr. Gross to give some commentary regarding 7323. I'm not pulling it to vote against it. I'm pulling it for benefit of the public to understand it better.
Okay, thank you. I'll have him respond. If there's nothing else, can we allow him a moment to come back? Can we still vote on it if you don't want to pull it? And then he'll give an explanation to the public?
Is he leaving?
No, he's just
Yeah, he'll be back.
indisposed for a moment. I'm trying not to have us sit here and wait for him. If you're not gonna vote against it.
Yeah. Fine. I'm good with that one.
Okay.
I'd rather him give just a treatment of it. It
Okay,
is
so we're gonna pull it
$8,000.
so that we can continue to move forward, please. Thank you. 73-23. And we'll pull it and vote on it independently when he has an opportunity to return and give a better explanation. Meanwhile, let's continue, please, Madam Clerk.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? The consent agenda is implemented. Did you want to move on to the one ordinance on second and final reading?
Yes, please.
2716-23, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7, Traffic, subsection 7-32.2, restricted parking zones of the revised general ordinances of West Orange, handicap parking space. Is there a motion to introduce on first, second and final?
Second.
Okay. Councilwoman Castellino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Geber Michael,
Yes.
Councilman Rutherford,
Yes.
Councilwoman Scarpa. Yes. Council President Williams.
Yes.
Okay, this is the time for public hearing on this particular ordinance.
Is there anyone on the Zoom audience or in council chambers that wants to comment on this ordinance? Seeing none in the chambers, Mr. Fagan.
Any member of the Zoom audience wishing to comment on ordinance 2716-23, please raise your hand. Now is your time for public comment. Council President, I am seeing none.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Your council colleagues?
No.
No. Is there a motion to approve 2716-23?
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Geber Michael,
Yes.
Councilman Rutherford,
Yes.
Councilwoman Scarpa. Yes. Council President Williams.
Yes.
Okay. Should I go on to the?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, no.
well, the first reading one, I need Mr. Gross because I have a question.
Okay.
On the ordinance on first reading?
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you. We're gonna go to pending matters, new matters, council discussion while we're waiting upon their return, just so that we can keep the agenda moving forward. Pending matters, new matters, council discussion. Council members, I'd like to bring to your attention the email that we received this week asking us to not participate and support the Israeli flag raising. I wanted to get your commentary on that. This will be the second time that we will host a Israeli flag raising here at council chambers. This email came to us because of the dysfunction between Palestine and Israel. However, my personal opinion is that we recognize in West Orange all levels of diversity, regardless of what's going on outside of West Orange and the state of New Jersey, as well as the United States of America. I am not supportive of asking anyone to discontinue the Israeli flag raising, but it's not my opinion. It's 5 of us, and I just wanted to make sure you were all in consent to move forward and not indicate any different movement.
I echo your statements, Council President. As an Ethiopian, Eritrean, there's conflict right now over there. And at the end of the day, I'm still Ethiopian and Eritrean. My parents are citizens, were born and raised there. It's still their country and their heritage. And we should still celebrate that diversity. So I completely echo your sentiments. I think that there are people of Israeli descent who are from there, who are proud of their heritage, and has nothing to do with the government and whatever is happening there. It's about the people and their culture.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any feedback or commentary?
It does get complicated with worldwide politics. And again, we celebrate everyone's diversity. To your both of your comments, I agree with. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you. Councilman.
Yeah, I just would like to say, while these are certainly complicated and nuanced political issues, they are not local political issues. We support Palestinians, we support Israelis, we have both groups represented in our community. Folks go to our schools and play in the playgrounds. And one of the beautiful things about West Orange is that in general, we all get along. We do have 1 or 2 folks that don't, but for the overwhelming majority of this town,
50,000 people,
we all get along. So I think it's appropriate to have it. Now, I do think it's also appropriate for folks to raise their voices of concern. I just don't think this is the body that can do anything about that. And so, while we do hear you and certainly value your opinion and raising those concerns, and they're not dismissing them at all. I know that there are real issues that go back decades or maybe over hundreds of years, or not quite 100 years, but actually over that, because it's biblical. This is not the body to handle it.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, so we will move forward and we will not do any response to cancel it. I'm sorry. She said she agreed with me from
We
the
need to
gate.
respect all of
Okay,
the
I'm
residents of our community, each and every one,
Thank you.
and get the national politics out of West Orange.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and I apologize. And then the only other thing, just talking about diversity and cultural opportunities and religion, is to advise and inform my council members that I have been approached about doing something for Ramadan, which is on the 22nd of March. We have our next council meeting on the 21st. So I will be working with one of our residents to see if we can put together, whether it be the candle lighting ceremony that perhaps we can do at town hall. If that's doesn't work out, we will do something within the council chambers to recognize Ramadan and those who celebrate. Nice, thank you. Mr. Gross, we have some questions. We have pulled 2 ordinances. We can start with 71-23. I'm sorry, let us start with 73-23. There were some questions. Mr. Rutherford, I'm sorry, Councilman Rutherford.
No, just, for council's benefit and the public's benefit, can you just give us an overview of 73-23?
Yeah, this is we've discussed this, I think, before, and it's pretty technical. In terms of doing financing for the township, I'm authorized to sell bond anticipation notes, but I am not authorized to go out for permanent financing. That requires this particular resolution authorizing that. I make the recommendation, and it's up to the council. It's just the nature of it's not temporary, whereas the bond anticipation notes are. So this is more permanent. This is we're in a unique situation right now where we're in an inverted yield curve, and we think that the rates are going to frankly come pretty comparable to a bond anticipation note. So we discussed it with our financial consultants. They agreed that it made sense for this particular issue go ahead, to go out and go long. So that's why this resolution is on for tonight.
And when you put out bonds and notes, is there any requirement for noticing, and are they being noticed on the same date? I'm asking that question, but I know the answer because it's definitely in the.
We're doing both. We're preparing notice of sale. I've already gone through our ratings with Standard & Poor's, and we're waiting for the final back. And so it's a process. We didn't always do notices of sale. There was a time when the rate differential wasn't so much. In this environment, the rate differential is significant. So we save a lot. We save a lot by going and doing the notice of sale.
And it's my understanding that when we issued the last bonds, that we had a AA bond rating.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions regarding this ordinance? All right, can we call for the vote, please?
Yes, is there a motion to approve 73-23?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Geber Michael?
Yes.
Councilman Rutherford?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
Yes.
Council President Williams?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. 71-23.
Yes, Councilwoman Geber Michael, I think you wanted this poll 71-23.
Correct, because we voted no on it last time.
We didn't vote no, that's just
Oh, was
the,
it polled?
No, the
the
administration.
administration removed
Okay,
it from
correct.
the, yes.
Because we didn't.
Well, the administration removed it from the list and now it's being represented to the body for their approval. So, Mr. Gross.
Yeah, this is a resolution that simply authorizes the township to participate in a study about the possibility of creating a regional communication dispatch service. It is being coordinated by the Township of Livingston. One of the reasons that they've initiated, because they have the real estate space. There is the idea behind this is the state is going to pay for a study based on the criteria of the participants. So my understanding, while I won't name them because I wouldn't want anybody to name West Orange, there are other towns that are intended to participate in this. And it's a matter of having a discussion and investigation as to what the implications of performing a regional service would be in this circumstance. As a matter of background, regional communication centers are the standard, not the exceptions. Out of the 21 counties, 15 counties in New Jersey have county dispatching. And so it is, and there's three, and there are also three other entities that have been created to do regional dispatch in some of the overlapping counties as well. If you look nationwide, it is the standard for, if you think about, anything you've watched, there's a call center and the call center is dispatches emergency services. So what we're asking you to think about and to give us authorization to do is to join into a study that is going to be paid for by the state of New Jersey and to cooperate and to see whether there's a way to provide better service at a more reasonable price and more consistently. Without going into a lot of details, it is a service that is of concern to us. And that we feel that we need to look at least investigate what those alternatives there may be to the way that we have been doing it. There's to us, to the administration, there are economics involved, there's service levels that are involved, and I'll just assure you that our participation of this in this will yield no cost to the township. It will yield no results that you don't ultimately decide. This is just about talking, to be honest with you, and talking with other towns about how to provide the service. It is we do not enter with any a prerequisite of relinquishing control to another municipality. That's not something we'd be interested in doing. We would certainly want, the administration would want to make sure and take every step to make sure that the services, if we were going to participate, would be done in a manner that protected our residents. And then can't say it any clearer than that. However, you might ask, well, why even have the discussion if you're against it? And the answer is, first off, I think you have an obligation to the taxpayers to at least investigate and find out and make it so that you have the facts before you to make a decision that does impact. And with the budget constraints that we have, and as you all know, we've talked about it, we're going to be presenting the budget to you, and it's going to be a very difficult budget. I think it's imperative to not restrict the administration from investigating the alternatives. It is ultimately going to be your decision. It's not going to be the administration's decision to move forward with any solution that may come from the study. It's ultimately going to be your decision. All we're asking is for you to give us the opportunity to get you the facts so that you can consider. And that's why it's on tonight.
Thank you. I would just like to remind my council colleagues that when we did go to the League of Municipalities after your election, that we sat in one of the shared services classes, and the czars that have to be invoked can only be invoked to do this study by resolution. They are appointed by the governor. They have no invested interest in West Orange. And I do believe, after further discussion and understanding what the intent of the resolution is, that it is our responsibility to do a fiduciary study and investigation to determine if this would be beneficial. At no point am I willing to compromise services, especially emergency services, and I think I've made that very clear. But I do believe that it is our responsibility to at least get the information before we make a hard decision. Thank you. Councilwoman.
Yeah, at first I wasn't supportive of this, moving forward with this, and then after getting some additional information, one of the concerns, we just purchased a new system last year, so that, what happens with that. I also want to make sure our fire chief is included in the discussions. But yeah, it is our responsibility. I was in favor of having any cannabis discussions and always make that very clear. But here we are. We have to do our due diligence. So again, as long as we have the final say, I don't want staff to feel in fear that they're going to be losing their positions. So that's the one thing. I hope the transparency moving forward with this is inclusive. So we don't have, our staff saying, oh, look, they're doing a study to get rid of us, because it's fearful. Times are tough. There's tough economic situations for many folks. And I don't want them to feel that we're doing a study that they're going to worry about losing their jobs because of any consolidation or shared service.
If I can address that,
Sure.
This is in no way an attempt to take any action that would be detrimental to our staff, the people that have worked hardest for that. That's not it. And in fact, in the state of New Jersey, there's a thing called soft landing provisions. You can't do anything in a shared service agreement that is going to have a negative impact on any of your employees. Number one. Number two, this is a study. I've done numerous ones of these over the years, and I enter these with no preconceived idea of who's going to, who even the entity is going to be. It may come out that there's a recommendation to create a district where you create a regional district that answers directly to the taxpayers. I mean, there are a lot of different possibilities. It could be a joint meeting, similar to what we do with sewer, which we know works very, very well. You know, and that the municipalities have direct say into I'm just saying, who knows? But if we're not at the table, we're not going to know. And what we're asking is just to be at the table so that we can find out and bring it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Councilwoman.
I stand by my comments earlier regarding this.
Thank
I just
you.
don't think it's worth looking at sacrifice. We have the second largest, highest call volume in the county. We're a township of 50,000 residents. Livingston is a township of 30,000 residents. Let's look to save money elsewhere, not with emergency services.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yeah, I appreciate Mr. Gross spending so much time speaking with me on this particular issue. And while I do understand and don't disagree with the logic behind it, I just think the timing is wrong. We've got too many internal issues that we're still dealing with. And rather than go down a road where we may end up, doing nothing. The study may come back and we may say, okay, well, we like things the way they are. It doesn't save us enough money to make any changes. But perhaps it comes back and there are some changes recommended. I think we need to be on steadier ground, particularly with emergency services before we even start moving down a road like that.
Councilwoman. Thank you, Councilman.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm very concerned about emergency services and relinquishing control. How would we not be relinquishing control? And have we done any do we have any projections, gross projections about what the
This is what the study would entail. So
we must have some idea.
There is absolutely no idea.
Look, do I know what we're spending? I know what we're spending. And as I said, well, I'm not going to go into detail here. There are some areas that we would like to see addressed. And this may or may not be able to address them. We just don't know. I just don't know. I don't know how you look at, and again, in the next couple of weeks, you're going to be seeing the budget and you're going to say, how are we going to solve these problems? And then tell the taxpayers that we're being invited to have a discussion about potential ways to do things better and potential ways to save money, and we're deciding not to do it.
What does it cost us now?
Nothing.
For this service.
It'll cost you nothing.
No, for the dispatch services that we provide.
Oh, I mean, I don't
I'm
have
sure
it
it's
tonight,
not that large of a
but
budget.
it's not insignificant. It's it's seven figures.
And we just reinvested in
That's amazing.
emergency equipment at all of our firehouses.
So my concern, Mr. Gross, though, is where we've seen shared services, particularly with emergency services, it just hasn't gone according to plan. Now, that doesn't mean we won't be able to do it better, but based on what we've seen in some neighboring towns, it just hasn't gone according to plan. And I would hate to start going down a pathway, especially when we're not on solid ground already, and then incur some challenges with implementing something or deciding to implement something that makes our current situation even worse. I'm not going to name any.
Well, they don't
neighboring
have
towns.
names, that's.
That's true. That's true.
But again, we're not asking you to make that decision. We're asking you to let us talk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we're asking. Let us talk to other towns and see what we may come back to you in the first week and say, this is not going to work. But at least we will be able to look our taxpayers in the eye and say, we thought about it. We discussed it. We looked at it, and here's what, and by the way, and here's exactly why it's not a good idea. Because we went through it and this is what we found. And this is a list of things that we can now say, this is why we chose not to do it. And we don't have that right now. We have ideas. I think we have concepts, and I'm not minimizing what those are. But if we have the discussions, we can come back and say, this is it. This is what you have. And you can we can decide to turn it down because of the following reasons.
So I guess what is the commitment on your end? You said you have to go to the first meeting, a couple meetings, like what is the commitment and what is expected of.
It's a commitment to
Township.
participate. It's a, it's going to be, they're going to hire a consultant. The state's going to pay for it. Hire a consultant, which means the consultant will interview people and we'll provide data to them. And the administration feels that, this is something that we can do without, a heavy lift and provide the information back to you to make decisions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay, excuse me, is there a motion to approve 71-23?
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay. Councilwoman Castellino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Geber Michael,
No.
Councilman Rutherford,
No.
Councilwoman Scarpa,
No.
Council President Williams.
Yes.
I'd like to say, just for the record, this is one of those tough votes because your logic is sound. It's just where we are right now is the wrong time to even entertain those kinds of conversations, I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinances on first reading 2717-23, an ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 2 of the revised ordinances of West Orange Administration, Article 6, Departments Established, Section 7.1, Departments, Boards and Commissions, adding subsection A9, Department of Engineering, deleting section 7.1B, and amending and supplementing sections 10.1, Director of Public Works, duties of department, to alter the requirements for the Director of Public Works and the responsibilities of the department, deleting section 10.2, Division of Engineering, and creating a new and separate Department of Engineering in newly added section 18.2. Would you like to discuss before we do a vote?
Council President, I believe there are a couple of errors in this
Right.
draft, and I printed it out from the website. This was yesterday, but I really didn't have a chance to read it until today. And I think that at the bottom of page 2, there's a missing paragraph 3, just a word on what I printed out, department, that's kind of hanging there. And I believe it should be actually a paragraph 3, and it should state establish standards and procedures for the control, use, and care of all township-owned equipment, materials, and supplies in the custody of the department. That's my recollection.
Where are you reading?
That's what it says.
It does?
Yeah, on my clean copy.
Okay, my clean copy doesn't say that. So it may be that, let me ask you, Madam Clerk, then, on page,
The bigger print.
4,
Mhm.
there's the paragraph coordinate, report streetlight outages and request light improvements happen, letter O.
Yes,
Okay, so then it's correct.
okay,
I don't know why, when I printed it out, it wasn't, but,
okay.
okay.
So everything is correct. Okay. It was correct.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Oh, okay, so, I do have a question.
Oh,
Just, is this involving, more management? Is there any cost?
no,
To restructuring of this department?
no, this is just the job description. Mhm. They're separating the two departments from what I understand. When Mr. Lepore was here, he may have taken over the Department of Public Works.
40-some years ago.
Right,
Yeah.
and it has never been separated. And of course, they continue to add duties and responsibilities to his title. Unfortunately, with our new engineer, municipal engineer, or assistant municipal engineer, she is extremely overwhelmed. We're a much bigger town, busier town, and we need to have 2 people instead of 1. A separation of the departments.
And frankly, the responsibilities over the last 40 years have changed substantially, and there's so much more to be responsible for that it really does need to be separated out.
Yeah, that's very true.
But to Councilwoman's original question, though, it will have a financial impact because now you're gonna have a director of 2 separate departments instead of 1 director over those 2.
We do not,
Yeah.
we do not anticipate a change in the number of personnel from this.
They're already serving in that capacity, so you already have.
I mean, when you'll see when we present the budget.
So can we get the organizational chart
part
prior
of the
to
budget.
second reading?
Yeah.
No, we always get it well, we get it in the budget, but
We'll have the budget.
I would
on the
like-
15th.
so we will have before
So
second
we will have
reading.
the organizational chart
I'd like
before.
to see the org chart.
Yeah, that's part of the budget. We've
Yeah.
requested that to be included in the budget and we get the budget on March
We get
15th.
that, yeah.
Our next meeting isn't until March 21st.
So, Mr. Gross, we're going to separate engineering and DPW and public works.
Yes.
And our current assistant or so, whatever the title is, engineer will be in
Sorry,
engineering. And
Who will,
be in public works.
who will be the director of that other department?
That's a personnel matter that really shouldn't be discussed in public at this point.
Okay, so
I'll be-
without a person, but the point I was making is there will be someone there,
Yes.
and that's gonna have a financial impact.
Organizational chart.
We expect to reorganize within the number of staff positions that we have. We're not going to be adding a new position.
Right, but somebody will be managing it and making a higher salary. So there will be a financial implication.
There will be a,
Talking to the microphone.
actually.
There will be
not.
no cost.
Actually not. It will not.
Okay, thank you.
I have another
I mean,
question.
I'd be happy to, well, like I said, during the budget process, I'll show you that, but it does not.
Sounds
Councilwoman,
good to me.
Interrupted before the vote, so that's why I'm asking.
Oh, sorry.
I interrupted before the vote was taken. I
We
think.
didn't do a vote.
we haven't
So I
done a
just wanna
vote.
Make sure you.
Yeah,
We
we
have
were,
not done the vote.
Councilwoman?
So who gets the jitney? I don't see it in anybody's job description. I know Mr. Lepore oversaw the jitney.
He did.
Yeah, so
And-
who
and
gets
we-
that now?
Frankly, the administration has not settled in on that yet.
That's a big job, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Doesn't have to be part of the ordinance.
huh?
Doesn't have to be part of the ordinance.
Doesn't need to be part of the job description?
That's not the job description.
Might not be that same person.
And-
Well, the
What's performing
functions,
that?
yeah.
No, look, all of our directors are assigned responsibilities, directly, that type of, in other words, if we moved a particular set of responsibilities from one department to another, that's just.
No,
that's-
I get that, but if you're also gonna do a stipend, that would be reflected in the budget for
We
someone.
would have to
So if
come-
somebody
we'd
takes
have to come-
over,
We'd have to come and ask you that.
because the schedule, it's the maintenance for the buses, all that would that person be responsible for whoever you
As I said,
direct
the
that to?
administration has not settled in on the solution for that. Everything you're talking about is true.
So we don't know it.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make is you want us to pass this, but you don't have a
This has
big, that's
nothing
a
to do
big
with.
job.
Has nothing to do with the JIT.
The jitney is no longer gonna be under
I
DPW
didn't say that.
as it states in this, but it
The
doesn't mean.
jitney is nowhere in any, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, but it doesn't mean that you can't assign the responsibility to either of these titles. Is that what
But
you're
The
saying?
jitney is not created by ordinance. The jitney, the responsibility, it is a set, these are tasks that have been assigned to that department.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, that's
Councilwoman?
a big tax
Yeah.
and it should be on this ordinance, no?
No, not necessarily.
Absolutely not.
It's just a management function. It's got nothing to do with the structure of the department.
All right, I guess we'll see the organizational chart before second reading. I'll pass on first reading and then
Okay, thank
see if
you.
we have the information for second reading.
Madam Clerk,
Okay, is there a motion to approve 2717 on first reading?
so move.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Geber Michael,
Yes.
Councilman Rutherford,
Yes.
Councilwoman Scarpa,
Yes.
Council President Williams.
Yes. Before we close out this evening, I'd also like to thank Mr. Smeraldo for his library update, but I'd also ask him if we can come and get again soon. We have tours set up for next week to do a firehouse tour of all of our firehouses. So I don't want to overburden my council colleagues with going to see these places, but I do think it's our responsibility to see, as we're approaching the budget, the condition of our assets.
I have no objection.
Okay. Also wanted to ask my council colleagues if they have a copy of the open space map.
I don't.
No,
I
I'd
don't.
like one.
I'll make sure everybody gets a copy.
Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
All right.
And just for that tour, I think it'd be beneficial if the projects that were done for, I think you have the list for what was done to each firehouse, the projects.
The improvements?
Improvements.
You talking about, I'm sorry.
So the firehouse tour, if there is a list of the improvements.
That have been completed to
Yeah,
date.
that-
Can you just
Oh,
provide that to us next week? We haven't set an actual date, but I'll put out some dates, so it won't be before Wednesday. All right. And then the other request that I have is if we can please get, I know I saw you send Councilwoman Castellino. Your name is a tongue twister sometimes. And I don't have stuff in my mouth. Councilwoman Castellino asked for an assets list and you distributed that to all of us. Can we also have the debt table? How much debt we owe and what it's for?
Sure, it's on the website, but we'll download it. So.
Thank you. Are there any other requests from my colleagues?
Can I request that when we do these tours, that we do some of them on the weekends or have weekend options for people to work during the
We
day?
can't do it on the weekend because the supervisors aren't in the firehouse over the weekends. I've been told it needs to be doing a weekday, but what we can do is do it after work. I'll send out some dates and we'll try and make sure it accommodates everyone's schedule. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anything else? I would like to call for an adjournment.
Second.
Thank you. Everyone have a wonderful night. Don't forget that on Sunday, we spring forward. So that'll be Saturday night, changing your clocks. I look forward to seeing everyone at the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Woo-hoo! Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Oh, yeah, everybody, I need $25.